Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hotline League. We are finally back in action for LCS edition as LCS is kicking off this week, and there's a ton of good news. I personally saved the LCS. I believe that's how this works. I get full credit for this thing continuing to exist. Mark Zimmerman is here, my constant co-host. Mark Zimmerman, how's it going, Mark?
Good. I also saved the LCS because the teams have different scrim setups. There was some drama around that. There's drama around Champions Queue. There's
I was thinking about all the positive things. You're bringing us down.
Well, no, I'm saying I saved it, but there's still drama around it.
Gotcha.
The teams changed their schedule because I said, hey, stop doing that. And then they changed it.
Yeah. You and I, honestly, we're doing a lot these days, I gotta say.
We should become paired dictators of the whole North American scene.
Yes, exactly. Let us be let Hotline League. That's how the LCS is going to run. Mark and I will run it, and we will run it from Hotline League as a platform. People can call in with their complaints or suggestions, and then if we like them, we decide if we're going to implement them or make the changes.
We run a Twitch poll after you petition it. It's like democracy.
Yes.
And then
we might still shut democracy,
you down because we are dictators.
If you gift subs or bits, you will have an increased chance of getting your will
Capitalism meets democracy, which, to be fair, is already how it is.
Yeah, exactly.
With super PACs and whatnot.
Anyway, we're going really into so this is how we're starting the show. We have a guest here who is a newly minted LCS caster. RAAFAA, welcome to the show. First time you're on. Well, you called in previously.
Yeah, back in 2018.
Holy fuck, I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was right before the G2 RNG quarterfinal. I called in, my microphone was super scuffed, and I basically said G2 will beat RNG. And then Mark Z and Nero had to talk me down from my super copium takes and be like, okay, but really, RAAFAA, like, do you realistically think this is going to happen? And I was like, yeah, I think if they play a 1-3-1 style and dismantle Uzi from being able to scale and hypercarry always in the late game, then they'll win. And
did I not believe?
You were kind of in line with me, and Nero was not a believer. He thought G2's macro was total dog shit. And then he admitted fault when G2 won. He's like, all right, where's the caller that called us out? Like, we need to accept defeat. So
I don't remember this at all, but I do remember thinking that after that group of death where RNG was losing to C9 and Vitality, I was like, why not? I don't know. I don't know what I said during that call, but I'm glad it doesn't look so bad looking back on it.
You were like reasonably thinking, I mean, maybe, we're on the middle ground.
This might be the longest a scam train has ever gone, just as a random aside. Okay.
Keep it going, NACL fans. Yeah.
RAAFAA, thank you for joining the show. We're going to learn a little bit more about you in just a second, because I'm sure a lot of folks who haven't been paying attention to Academy or whatever it's called now, Challenger. It was Challenger, then it became Academy. Now we're back to Challenger.
Back to Challengers.
I can't even keep
League.
Up. Yeah. Anyway. I'm sure a lot of people will want to learn stuff about you before you show up this weekend, but we have a little bit of bookkeeping to do. So one, want to give a shout out to Grubhub and Alienware for sponsoring the show. We will talk more about them later. We'll shout about them later. Next up, we have to do the normal thing where Mark talks about stuff that he has watched recently or played recently. And the great news is I actually have a lot to bring to this conversation for once.
I think it's a good week then, because I didn't have as much because we dog sat Murphy, which is one of Ashley's coworkers' dogs. So I didn't get to the theaters this week, unfortunately. I watched some movie. I can't remember. You hated that dog, dude.
Mark brought me for a walk. He's like, you want to go walk this dog with me? I was like, sure. And then the dog would not walk. He barely got it to my apartment. Couldn't even get it to the front of my apartment. It's like a block away. And the dog refused to walk, so we just walked back to his apartment and stood out in front of it for a while.
Yeah. Fuck. I'd have to ask Ashley what we watched this weekend.
Okay, well, I know something you watched. You and I both started The Last of Us. Oh, she's letting him know.
The Fablemans. That's what we watched.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Well,
it was good. I liked it a lot.
But
anyways, go ahead.
You and I both started The Last of Us. I've watched the first 2 episodes. And I really liked it. I don't normally like spooky stuff. I've when you watch it with somebody, it's helpful.
Whoa, fucking spoilers! It's a spooky show. I didn't know.
Here's my assessment on The Last of Us. My favorite thing about The Last of Us. It does not take 3 episodes to go anywhere. Every fucking
Whoa,
show.
spoilers!
You and I have
You're
talked
telling me
about this
the
before,
pacing?
where I feel like every show, they're like 8 episodes, and it takes the first 3 episodes for anything to happen. They start the very first episode, and at the end, they drop some like mysterious question, like Lost style. And then like they spend the next 2 episodes trying like hinting at what this could be, and then all the action takes place in the final like 4 or 3 episodes. Last of Us, it just goes. It just goes. And I love that. It was great. So, big fan.
Yeah. Rafa, are you a big movie TV? Like, what's your for funsies? What do you do?
Movies, yes. TV shows, I don't have as much time, but I did start watching Last of Us, and I never played the game. I know the premise of it vaguely, but that opening sequence, like without spoilers, oh man,
Yeah. Yes.
that shit hits hard.
Yes.
Holy.
That's what I'm talking about. Like if you have 8 episodes in a season, do not wait until the 5th episode to start pushing the storyline forward.
Yeah.
So I love it.
It's so true. Like, just looking back at Rings of Power is like, when was the moment I was supposed to start caring about these characters? And for Joel, it's like 10 minutes in, 15 minutes in. Whenever that went down, you're like, oh wow, I now feel so bad for this dude. And then of course, immediately you're getting character progression payoffs throughout the rest of the episode as you see like what it's done to him in the future and like how his relationships are shaped by it. Immediately, you're like, oh, good writing. I almost forgot TV could do this.
Yes,
because it's not TV.
And I was just like drawn in. Like there's so many shows. I think the Marvel shows in particular are very guilty of this, even as I've liked them, where you're just like you watch the first episode and you're like, oh okay, I guess I'll watch the second because like that was not bad and it was like remotely interesting. Whereas like 10 minutes in, I was like, holy shit, this is great. So anyway, highly recommend Last of Us. The other thing I finished this week, Mark, or I started a little bit, but I watched almost all of and finished Wednesday this week, and I really, really liked it. I thought it was really good.
About time. You gonna learn the TikTok dance?
Yeah, the Lady Gaga song.
Poggers.
Anyway,
Rafa, what have you done this week?
Yeah, Rafa, what can you bring to show and tell?
Mostly it's just been putting up shit in my room.
Oh yeah, because you guys just moved. There's a new caster house, right?
Yeah, the Casa de Caster here. I'm not going to dox myself and the rest of us, but it's me, Cubby, and Joshi, 2 other Salt League casters. We moved in a couple weeks ago, and poor Josh has been waiting on his stuff like until 2 days ago. Like, he has not had his stuff because the moving company from Seattle griefed him and ghosted him for the past several days. Every time he would call in, it's like, hey, where's my stuff? And it would either go to voicemail or they would say, you know what, we'll call you back in 30 minutes. And he would just never get a call back. And he tried to look up legally, like, can I sue them or anything? And it's like, well, the contract says they have within 30 days since when you set up the moving date to like put your stuff in. And they just never contacted him until last Friday, and they said, hey, we got your stuff. We can't come into your street though because it's really thin, so you have to come to us or we're going to put it in like a storage locker and you're going to have to pay $500 per night. And so
Doc's the storage company. What was the storage company? Nobody should ever use
Name
them.
and shame. We're big name and shame.
I have no idea, but I'm happy to ask Josh when he comes home because he went out for a bit, and we can all shame this moving company for how atrocious they were.
Okay, skit idea. Skit idea. I think the LCS should do something because you guys are all pals. You're all there. You've got NACL and LCS stuff. Skit idea. Do a video about you guys all living together where it's you are like big timing them and telling them they have to do all these chores and stuff because you've now made it into the LCS.
He's got a
and
huge
they
ego.
are stuck in challengers. And so it's like, yeah, when we moved all in together, we thought that it would all be equal. Then Rafa gets this promotion and his head gets all big, and yeah, I think that's a good video.
It's something that we've been contemplating on the NACL broadcast that Kangas has been pushing. Like, Rafa, you should just ego us more, like on the air, and we'll just be like, man, this Rafa guy, he gets LCS one time, and now he just treats the rest of us like dog shit. So we'll see where that ends up.
Well, whenever
All right,
it
what
eventually
everyone
comes to
wants to know-
fruition, I will take full credit. Anyway, sorry, go ahead, Mark.
Of course.
I was gonna say, what about like drama in the house? What is there? There's got to be some. Like, is someone just extremely messy? Does someone do extra damage in the bathroom? Like, what's the gossip going on?
I could destroy someone's entire career right
Do
now.
Do it. It's for the views. We have 3,000 people watching. The people want to know.
All right. Well, Cubby will have to get me back. This guy, after Taco Bell or Chipotle, drops massive nukes in the house, and you can hear it everywhere. Literally from all corners of the apartment. Me and Josh are honestly impressed at this point. It is just crazy. Crazy.
Let's
but you know
move
what,
on.
Cubby? On the flip side, Cubby is the most clean in the house and like cleans up after everything. So, there's
It's like a guilty conscience thing.
exactly. It's like, damn, like, I'm causing World War III with, post Taco Bell Chipotle farts, and then it's like, all right, I will make sure everything in this apartment is spot clean,
All right. Well, anyway,
I knew Travis. Travis is a huge poop humor guy. I knew this would go over well.
yeah. Let's move on. The one other show and tell thing I have is for any Cosmere fans out there. I have a Cosmere shirt on today that I just got this past week. Did you get that yet, Mark?
Yeah, I got it like last week, I think, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, pretty quick. I don't know.
We could have been matching. Anyway.
Well, thanks for the heads up. Hey, Rafa, why don't you do a big old intro for people who know absolutely nothing?
Yes.
Like how old you are, where you came from, your history. I mean, like I watched that video you had, but for people who might have missed that on Twitter.
Sure. Hello, I'm Rafa. I became a fan of League of Legends 10 years ago when I was in high school. I'm now 27, and I started casting 5 years ago. I thought I was going to be a pro player, and then I realized I didn't have the solo queue grind mentality and couldn't escape like low diamond, high plat. So I was just like, all right, well, I can't deal with solo queue, but I wanted a way to find a way to be like relevant in esports or just pursue something that I love. And I got into casting, and just like through amateur community discords, amateur leagues, eventually just grinding and meeting ton of people along the way, I went from like nobody to academy, collegiate, Wild Rift esports for a bit, and now we're here in LCS. So that's 5 years in a nutshell.
Wow.
Quite pog.
What did it mean for you, or when did you find out you were going to be on the LCS broadcast?
When?
Yeah. Like what? Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So,
yeah, was it like last year exactly?
Yeah,
a week ago when the announcement hit?
I got the official call in November, so 2 weeks after World Finals had concluded, right before Thanksgiving. I got a message from LCS asking, "Hey, are you free later this week to talk about your plans for 2023?" And immediately I'm like, "What the fuck does that mean?" Because I could say like, "Oh, that's the big call," but I didn't want to get myself hopeful. And we had heard rumors about like, oh, like they might want to do some changes for next year, but we knew nothing was confirmed, right? So I literally scheduled the calls like, can we have this ASAP? Because this is going to give me anxiety. And I couldn't sleep that night. So I wake up the next morning. I have the call later in the afternoon, and I sit down with them over like a video call, and I just say, "Hey, I'm going to be blunt and straightforward. What is this about? I just want to get to the bottom of this." So they asked me about how did I feel my year 2022 was, and I told them about my two proudest moments: casting Proving Ground Finals in the LCS studio and playing Silver Scrapes live, which for those that don't know, I composed a instrumental rock version of Silver Scrapes, and I did it remote for one of the games. That's just like a funny bit. But then everyone on the show loved it, And there we all talked about, okay, how can we do this live at Proving Grounds? And so we had to wait for like a game 5. We didn't get a game 5 until the very last series that I casted. They're like, all right, fuck it, let's send it. And so I played Silver Scrapes live. It was really fun. It was really awesome. And that moment was kind of like just, it was just legendary that I had been able to take music, something that I've done all my life, and then marry that with my love for esports. And then the other big proud moment was going to Singapore and casting the Wild Rift Esports Global Championship, aka their Worlds, and then I got to cast the World Final. And that gave me the confidence or like validation that I could be entrusted to tell the biggest stories on the international stage. So that's what I told them, and I said that I think this is my best year and best representation of like who I am as a caster and what I can offer to the pro space. And they told me we couldn't agree more, and that's why we want you to join the LCS next year. When they said that, it didn't click. Like I thought like they said something else. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to have you guest next year, have some tryouts or something. But then over time, as they were discussing the schedule, I was like, okay, just to clarify, like, how often do you want me on? Do you like, twice a split, 3 times a split? How's this? And they said, no. We want you on at least every week. And then I just got really emotional. I was crying a bit, and I was just like, oh shit. And we're just trying to get through the call. But man, that was one of the best days of my life. Just receiving that news.
And now you have to go work on LCS, where you'll become jaded and sour like everybody else within the first 6 months.
How was it your first on-site meeting day today? Actually, this dude brought his guitar or like not guitar. I don't know what that was. It was like a ukulele. Yeah.
I didn't know what the pitches were going to be today, but I have loved working with Julian Pastry Time ever since we casted Horizon Cup, which was the first international event for Wild Rift back in November 2021. And I just felt comfortable to just always like pitch things to him. And I said, hey, if there's anything you want to run off the cuff right now, I brought this. So obviously we didn't film or do anything because we had other plans, but we already like pitched like 4 or 5 different things musically that we want to do. Like, I don't know which is going to see the light of day, but I'm really excited that he's like entertaining all of it. And he's like, okay, I'm going to see if we can make this work or if we can find a spot for X and Y.
Just to warn you, because I'm here to manage your expectations. The answer usually ends up being no. We cannot make this work, et cetera, et cetera. This is my understanding. Any bright
Travis
joy and
Wet
happiness.
Blanket Gafford strikes again.
Anyway,
it's okay. I'm just glad that like they are entertaining it, and even if it doesn't like actually go through, I'll do it on my own, and I'll just
that's the secret. That's the secret.
That is the secret sauce, indeed. Actually, yes. for almost all content, just fucking do it yourself.
Yeah.
You ready to get into the show, Travis?
Yes,
sir.
I feel
let's
like
do it.
Okay. Well, let's figure out the news beats for callers. So we have the time change. It's now 2 instead of 12. We have
that was last week, dude.
No, Mark. Remember, we couldn't talk about it on the show, even though it was dropping the very next morning.
Oh god, was it that? I don't even remember.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because I told you I did the interview.
Yeah,
and I was like, well, we can't
all out of whack.
Can't do anything until then. Okay, and then we have the game's actually kicking off. We have co-streaming announcement. We now know a bunch more co-streamers that are coming in. We know all the talent that are on the LCS. There was something else that was really big. Oh, we know where spring finals is now. We didn't know before. That's in North Carolina. We know. Oh, and then the last thing. This is breaking news as of 3 hours ago. The TSM news. I don't think you heard about this, Mark.
Is this the January news? I don't know it.
Reggie posted because there was a thread of people annoyed, and he said it looks like it's going to be March news now.
Of fucking course, it's going to be March news. And then when we get to March, it's going to be like June. Sorry, guys. And then people will just forget it.
For months we've been waiting for this January news, and now it's March news. Thoughts, Mark?
Feel like
what are your reactions?
I don't know. I feel like it's like a Ponzi scheme of hype, you know? Like, if you just get people, if the January people can convince more people that the March people that I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, Champions Queue drama, which you referenced earlier. Thank you, Resin.
Yeah.
Scrim block changes, which I don't know if anyone's officially discussed what that is. Everybody's just kind of like subtweeting it on Twitter.
No, they talked about it.
Who?
K's talked about it.
Okay.
Some other people talked about it with like DeMonte kind of responded to some other people, and there was something about I don't know. It's somewhat public, but in case people are confused.
But that's what's weird. There's not been a formal presentation of this. You know what I mean? It's
well, but like,
sort of
who would be a person to formally talk about it?
Any team owner, any GM, any coach, the play. You know what? Who? The Players Association.
DeMonte is a coach, and he talked about it.
Did he say like, "Here's the deal," or was he just like adding people or whatever?
He responded to someone criticizing Champions Queue.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. You have to go into a Twitter thread to find this news.
But what do you think? Like, what do you
Mark,
think this news is going to look like?
What the
like
news
the NAPL, like the NAL Players Association is going to do it. Like,
sure, anyone.
It's you and me, bro. We're the fucking people that talk about it.
Then break the news, Mark. Let's break it down.
Well, we just recorded on the dive. We talked about it for like 15 minutes. So you guys can watch the dive for your official news.
Give the rundown so that people can call in if they feel like it.
I saved the LCS. We're back to 2 blocks.
2 blocks? Or
scrims. 3? Yeah, two blocks of 3 for scrims instead of one block of 5 for games. I don't know. You know, it received some pushback. Some players don't like it. There's been conversations about not wanting it. It came down to a vote. The teams voted on it. It was very close. It was divisive, and I don't know if it'll stick around, but at least right now a bunch of teams are doing it. I think it's the staple.
And so previously, for those that don't know, you would play.
Oh yeah, Artemis also talked about what it is and the potential like problems with it and things he would like to see tweaked in the future. Artemis had a video.
So ultimately, what it was before was every day teams would play against one other team for 5 games. Now they are going to play in 2 blocks. Against 2 different teams. So, and you said it's 3 games, 3 and 3?
3 games. I'm pretty sure it's actually the same team, which was a little surprising to me when they said that. It kind of defeats one of the benefits of it, which is just like more exposed play styles and matchups and stuff, which I don't know if that's universally true or if that was just like one person telling me that, but I heard it's the same team right now.
Oh, that's lame.
It is very lame. I agree.
I don't like that. You know what, guys? Don't get excited about LCS this year, okay? They're only going to scrim against one team every day. You know, it's all over. Back to 20.
I mean, like some of the complaints I heard too. Like I understand it's like a shift for some players who never grew up on like the 2 to 3 blocks or 2 blocks of 3 that I had. But like that's what we did. That's what like the East does, and like a lot of people are like, I think a shock to them that it's not the noon to 5 block where like I don't know. I don't have too much sympathy for people who find it like tiring and difficult. I agree, it's not as easy as the other block, but like practice should not be measured by ease. It should be measured by like what you're getting out of it.
I know what DeMonte meant, and so I'm not trying to blow him up for it, but it is very funny because in that thread he's like, listen, these days are really long. They have to do 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's like a 9-hour day with one of those hours being a lunch, so about 8 hours of working. And I'm like,
well, so he said that's minimum. People are doing solo queue and stuff.
It's just not the best way to mess. It's like ultimately what it sounds like you're saying is we've got these long ass 8-hour work days
with a fat break in the middle that sometimes gets picked up by other meetings. Listen, I if you wanted to read it uncharitably, it did not read great, but I didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah. And again, like I know sometimes it goes longer, like it is different. And it was within the context of why aren't they playing Champions Queue? And so
and to be fair, that's the time that they spend at the office. Most people go home and play more solo queue. So it's not like he's saying all they do is 11 to 8. It's like that's
Yeah.
the structured scrim time, and then there's like
Right.
unstructured.
It's
solo
just
queue and
it's one of
whatnot.
those things where like I do think that is an example of why it actually would have been smart for like the Players Association or somebody to come out and be like, hey, here's what is changing for the LCS teams and the players and how they're practicing this year, because otherwise you've got this weird thing where like everybody's putting out their weird takes on it, and DeMonte is saying we got to work 8 hours every day, it's terrible, and like it's just a funny situation. Anyway, that's the stage for all of our calls, everybody. So call in about
Since
that
we
stuff.
have a lot of new people here, I figured I would do the spiel. I haven't spieled in
Yeah,
a
do the
minute.
spiel.
All right, so the spiel is that this is actually a live call-in show, despite what the first half hour of it would fucking fake you into thinking. So if you want to go and get on the show, I just spammed the Discord link in Twitch chat. Go ahead, click that link. When you get there, join Pleb Calls or Pleb Calls 2 voice channels. Mute your microphone when you get there. No mouth breathers, please. And then in the text channel up above, in Pleb Topics, is where you're going to write what it is that you want to talk about. Make sure to @ me so I can see it. Whatever your take is, or if you have a question for RAAFAA, I think those are the kinds of things that we'll be looking for. If I like your topic, I will pull you from the Pleb Calls area into the waiting room, where you'll hang out until it's your turn to come on the air. We'll do a quick mic check, of course, and then you'll be in there. I already pulled a lot of people, but I will be looking for a couple more to round out towards the later end of the show.
Very good. And if you are a sub, thank you for being a sub. First off, really appreciate it. It's going to be a tighter year revenue-wise, I think, for a lot of people, including TGI. So your subs are always very much appreciated.
Did you get your budget slashed?
I'll talk. We'll go on a walk. Anyway.
Done. Well, it was nice, guys. No more blame game. Gonna sell that product to Riot.
Again, subs are very appreciated, everybody.
Where's the Patreon?
Maybe we bring it back. Okay, anyway, Mark, you want to go grab our first caller?
Sure.
All right. So let's see. Thank you, by the way. Speaking of subs, to everybody who's gifted a bunch of subs. I'm gonna. Oh my God, Joseph Joestar, Sonic, me, Nolan gifted subs and as well gave one. I'm Elvis 4. We got Whoopley gifted a sub. Jesseline, Meshbeard, Yakomaniac, Fishy, Crayon, Tycho, Zushi, and Director Donuts, Shonatonin, Zachary GG, just waiting for Mark, Bandicoot, and Pyrenindia. There we go. What are you laughing at?
No, I said Shonatonin. He's a friend.
Long time subscriber. 53 months. This message was here for RAAFAA. Love you, Mark. You're the best. Wait, so you're also Mark. So there's Cage Roll, and there's you.
Yeah, so if I get invited for any international events, there's a possibility for Mark Squared, or if Mark Z is also on the cast, then Mark Cubed.
Oh shit, Mark! I love this idea. Even if it's just like one game and we just keep calling each other Mark, like excellent point, Mark, or be like, let me stop you there, Mark, and just nonstop.
Yeah, nice job, Mark. Yeah, excellent analysis, Mark. Yeah,
you're a fucking idiot.
Play, Mark.
Honestly, content idea right there. All right, Arsh is here. Arsh, where are you calling from?
LA, Santa Monica.
Santa Monica. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Yeah, so I was gonna say that people are really negative about the like LCS broadcast this year, especially people who aren't like core LCS fans, because like of whatever, the dashed controversy, the timing controversy. But I genuinely believe this is gonna be the best the broadcast has ever been, and I'm really excited for it. And a lot of people are, even outside of my capacity to be like contractually obligated or like contractually excited for it. I'm like genuinely really excited for it. Like I've been.
What contract do you have to be excited about?
Contract to like I don't know. I keep saying that like people shouldn't be doomer, so it'd be really hypocritical for me to like be doomer about stuff without being like critical or interesting.
Okay.
But I'm like genuinely really excited.
Honestly, I do. Are people really that doomer right now? I feel like after they changed the time, people started to feel better.
I think in like core, sure, but like I think people are still very unhappy with the dash changes and like don't understand, because like it still does read like budget cuts, as much as they will say it's not budget cuts, and as much as I don't like think it's budget cuts. People don't think that like this can work. I think even with the timing changes from 12 to 2. The weekday still feels like a deprioritization from Valorant for a lot of people. I just don't think that's a good way of looking at it. I also know that's not true. So like, I think that the moves they're making towards like a new form of analyst desk that's like not really an analyst desk, like actually trying to get other content in, having spoken to the people who are like trying to push for this. This is the first time it feels like LCS is saying, we're going to make good content. And like they have a track record of LCS 22 Summer to like stand behind them for that. And they're actually like, you know, changing things. I'm very like, I think the innovation is really good.
Yeah, I think that the whole idea that Dash is a budget cut is just hilarious to me because I'm like, again, like people don't understand that this product costs millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars to operate, and like the budget, you would not be seeing a brand new studio if there were
No, the
budget
brand new
cuts.
studio is for Valorant. That Daddy only cares about Valorant. He doesn't care about League anymore. It's for Valorant, not us.
Yeah, I get that people
Victim
think that,
complex.
but
I think.
So I don't know. I think that that's kind of weird. But I agree with you. I do think it's going to be a really good year for the broadcast content wise. Obviously, the jury's out on what viewership will look like. I am a little worried with how little they've actually been promoting the fact that it's Thursdays and Fridays. So I expect that we'll see a couple of weeks where, like, I expect viewership to be in the gutter the first 2 or 3 weeks because the problem is there's not been very much promotion. And so the first couple of weeks of the LCS are going to be what is the promotion of the fact that there's been a time and date change. And I think a lot of people are going to get very hung up on that. And you're going to get a second wave of doomerism when everybody's like, oh, the viewership is bad. Normally, the first couple of weeks of the split are where things like start and then you get like a mid slump. I don't think that it might even stay like neutral or grow even a little bit as you get in the middle. But I'm excited for the changes that they're making to the broadcast. I think they're probably going to swing at some things and miss, and you'll see some like, I don't know, not great stuff that they do. I'm a little worried about not because of Dash. I am excited for more content that has Dash in it. I'm a little worried about like the show that they were talking about with Dash, going out and doing a bunch of random stuff with pro players and all that. I can see that coming across as weird. But I don't know. I think overall I'm excited.
Enough out of you, Travis. RAAFAA, tell them why they're both wrong and that this is gonna suck.
Suck? Wait, what do you mean suck? Like their prediction is gonna suck, or
yeah? I think Mark is trying to say it's you are now the counterpoint.
Yes, this is how the show works. Is like we can't all agree, and so we've had two positive takes. So now you're going to play devil's advocate and explain why they're wrong and that LCS is going to suck.
Yeah, LCS broadcast is
brand new hire to the LCS.
Hell no! What? That is an awful position to defend.
RAAFAA, here I'll let you. We'll give you this. You can bring your ukulele out if it helps. If it helps you explain,
you can make it sound very chipper as you tell us why we're doomed.
Even
Sing a song about why LCS is
it's not gonna make it any better. Like it's.
We're just kidding. What do you think is about?
Yeah, what do you actually?
Yeah, no. I definitely think that as like the way we handled the communication around it was a big flub. And had we gotten in front of the narrative and taken better control of it, then we could have had a more empathetic response from the community. Even if they didn't like the changes, at least we could have communicated better. Oh, this is what they feel is best. But we gave them nothing. And then, it wasn't until after the holidays that we finally came back and we like reassessed everything. But regarding to the show itself, just from what we have been pitching so far, I'm excited. Genuinely excited about the direction of where the LCS wants to go. Are we going to fuck up on some things? Yeah. We have to fuck around to find out. We need to try if this is going to be like super funny or if it's going to be like super cringe. Like it happens, but we have plenty of weeks to figure that out. And, to all the fans that are going to be watching us, try and take giant leaps of faith and fall flat on our faces, we appreciate you if you still stick around afterwards. It's all about just us trying things because, frankly, I think this is the time to just limit test and try things that the LCS was too conservative to do in the past.
Like cody coming on for day one.
Oh, where'd that get announced? Is that on Reddit?
No, Mark, you just confirmed it?
No,
Oh,
I
it
just
was a leak. I tricked him. Let's go.
No, they announced. They
No,
announced
they
it.
announced
No,
it.
I know.
They put it
I
on
just
Sunday.
I knew the
fucking-
announcement was supposed to go out today. I knew that, so I figured it did, but I just haven't seen it.
Yeah,
on
it went
Reddit or
out. It went
anything.
out on all the official channels. I'm excited
Okay.
for it. I'll be there day 1 and 2, so I was like, I get to see Cutie Sitter. I'm such a fan. I was like, let's go.
You can get it.
Thursday sold out very quickly too, which is a good sign. I think tickets are still
Thursday sold
available
out
for Friday.
so fast.
Yeah.
I think because the announcement, like in the article, they hammed it up really hard. They were like, everyone who comes on Thursday will get free swag and a jacket and a picture with every pro player they want and like $1 million. And then they said nothing about Friday, so Friday didn't sell out for like a week after Thursday. But like, they
Okay.
really hammed up Thursday.
RAAFAA failed his assignment, so I will have to take over and be the curmudgeon, I guess. Here's the concern. I think so after the announcement change happened, that was on Monday, I guess, and I was already committed to doing a bullying game on power ranking, so I didn't get a chance to like share my thoughts on it. I talk about it in the dive a little bit, but my thoughts are that like I'm a little bit disappointed only in the sense that like we were sold this like data-driven approach. Everyone knows that there's like a golden hour when the entire Western-speaking world is awake around noon, or the majority of the Western English-speaking world is awake around noon, and like that's what like they were chasing a little bit, and it was like kind of bad for NA fans. And like I'm very happy for NA fans now, and like there's a lot of people who can watch that couldn't before. And people talk about like the percent that are East Coast versus West Coast, and like it's very heavily, it's like 70% or whatever towards Central and East. But I still think that that's probably less available than the weekend for most Americans and most Europeans. And now we've pushed later, and we're like, I obviously prefer North American fans. I think that they should be higher prioritized by a regionalized broadcast. But there's also a totally non-negligible portion of European fans where it's now starting at 10 or 11 p.m. And so I feel bad for people who might have actually been LCS fans from other regions. Like Travis, you know how many people call in from this show from around the world, and like I don't know if this is a good change for them. Even
Hey,
though it's
if
much
they're
better
calling
for
in
them.
on this show, they can stay up that late.
Yeah,
Like Delphi was talking about how like East Coast wise, it's the end time for the broadcast is pretty late if you've got like let's say school or work in the morning on Fridays.
yeah. So it's a little difficult just being in the week about having other commitments earlier in the day as well as potentially on the next day, which Saturday Sunday doesn't really have that problem. And then I think the other concern is that like because they never stuck to their guns about the data driven approach about noon is like, well, we never actually ran the experiment. Like I voiced my reservations then about that time as well, but we never found out, you know, to RAAFAA's point, we never fucked around. So we didn't find out, and we've already changed it. And so like if this is not a good time slot, even though it is better for the people who like the point is that this is better for a certain subset of North American fans, the majority of them probably, than noon at this day. But is it still better overall for the product? That I don't think is necessarily answered just because it's better for the core audience. And I am, I don't know, I'm equally uncertain as I was before the time change, even if I know this is a big sentiment win. And I guess that makes me a curmudgeon. But like, I look at the product as a whole, and I think there's still a lot of questions about who is this time slot better for again?
North American fans is the answer.
Then the weekend?
Oh, I see what you're saying. We don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
that's my point. Is that who is this? How is 2 p.m. on a weekday better than noon on a weekend? I think that is my question that I'm left wondering, because we have abandoned the reasoning for noon for 2.
Listen,
But we're still
everybody,
doing the best games
Mark
early.
Zimmerman wishes that you couldn't watch the LCS. That's what I'm getting from this. He's not a fan of this
I hate
change.
North American
He
fans.
thinks it should start at 12 West Coast time.
These
Go
are
ahead.
the things that I think you have to think about on a product level, and that's what I think about for the long term health of the North American ecosystem. Not like I think that these are just like questions that we'll see the answer to. We're now gonna see over the course of the couple of weeks. Travis also highlighted the communication of the changes, like how much of that is just gonna lag behind reality. You know, like I don't know. It's an interesting time.
I want to address something I saw in chat, by the way, which was this confusion about having Cutie Cinderella as a guest, because I saw other people talking about it on Twitter. I think I have been disappointed at the level of hostility that I have seen time and time again when Riot tries to bring anybody who's not like a standard
pro player or like a super pro coach,
Right.
someone that doesn't play League at the highest level.
If
Like,
I was interested in growing LCS viewership, the place that I would start would not be somebody who literally everyone in the LCS already watches and cares about. I would go with people who have like a different audience who might be interested in like tuning in. Like the same thing happened with Lily Pichu and
Michael Reeves,
and then
Saikuno.
yeah. Well, I was gonna finish my sentence, but you finished it.
Sorry, okay.
So the thing is, I think it's just disappointing whenever I see this stuff happen time and time again. And I think it's quite cool whenever like if Cutie, Cinderella, Ludwig, I don't know, Hassan, people want to come stop by the LCS studio and make appearances. I think that's cool.
I think Hassan should come on, and I should be super pro-capitalist and debate him. I know fucking nothing about socioeconomics. I know absolutely nothing. I'm extremely privileged. I'm ready to debate.
Hassan on broadcast would be so funny. Next to Emily, he's like 2 feet taller than her.
Yeah,
A
I also think
capitalist and a
people
socialist play a
underestimate.
1v1 for League for the future political system of the United States.
I also think people underestimate how much of a fan Cutie Cinderella is of League Esports. Like she joined TSM originally because she was a huge like TSM League of Legends fan. She was like a Bjergsen fan, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah. Anyway, I just want to address that. But anyway, yeah, I do think that LCS will be quite good. I'm excited for it to kick off, and I'm hoping that Riot doesn't fuck this up. Hey, Arsh, thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out?
Shout out to the latest episode of the NA podcast with a certain special guest and Cubby. Cubby was our far more favorite. We got RAAFAA and Cubby for the episode in case the joke didn't land. Before we knew that RAAFAA was going to be an LCS caster, so it was kind of funny because we were like, we did not get 2 NACL people for the NACL episode. We got RAAFAA and his goodbye to the NACL, or semi-goodbye. But that was cool.
Yeah, I'm still on the NACL.
Yeah,
not as involved, but yeah.
He is still going to be on the broadcast. As we talked about on that episode, if you want to go listen to it, it's on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcast. It was really fun. RAAFAA, it turns out RAAFAA and Cubby are really good at making content. Who knew? But yeah, thank you. This was fun. I enjoyed talking about LCS.
Thanks for the call. Catch you next time. All right, we're going to take a quick break to talk about our first sponsor of the evening, which is Alienware. Thank you so much to Alienware for sponsoring this show. I got in a great conversation today about their 34-inch QD OLED monitor that I'm using right now. I was talking about that on Twitter. It is beautiful, a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful monitor. Go check it out over at alienware.com/Travis. They've got amazing products over there. I am going to be able to talk soon about my new Aurora, which they're sending my way. It'll have a 4090 in it. So Hotline League this year, streaming out of a 4090. That's gonna be fun. And all that stuff is fantastic for whenever we have to work on 4K.
We're going to turn on ray tracing. We're going to have DLSS on. It's going to have all the greatest gadgets and gizmos for streaming.
If it helps your shill even more, Travis, I also am using an Alienware monitor.
Hey!
27 inches. And it is fantastic.
Thank you. And we're not paying him to say that.
Yeah,
Mark, we're going to talk about using gizmos and gadgets and copy. That's not approved copy. So I don't get messaging from them that's like, make sure you hit on the gizmos and gadgets. Anyway.
I think that's what Alienware wants to be branded as, a gizmos and gadgets company.
Oh boy. Okay. Anyway, so thank you so much to Alienware for sponsoring the show. Please check them out in the description below. There's a link, alienware.com/Travis. And if you purchase something through that link, some of that revenue gets kicked back to us. So really appreciate Alienware for sponsoring the show and doing that for us. So thank you so much. Mark is off to grab the next caller. And let's see. Speaking of revenue, we have Numi who subbed, Filthbunk gifted a sub, Beans, Prophet Guru, The Real Divert, and George Zulu. Thank you, everybody, for the subs. RAAFAA, are you going to show up on Thursday or are you showing up Friday or both?
Thursday.
Okay, so
Thursday.
we'll see you on the broadcast on Thursday.
Yes, sir.
Nice. And are you, well, should we expect to see you not on the casting desks at times? Like, are you exclusively going to be casting the games?
I would love to be involved with whatever content segment shows that we end up doing. As of now, so far my schedule has just me for casting, but we'll find out more later as the split goes on.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got Basil here. Basil, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from San Luis Obispo, California.
San Luis Obispo. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So my take is the new jungler for TL and the current reigning world champion in the jungle will not even be a top 5 jungler in the LCS this year.
You want to elaborate?
Yeah, I think it was just a really bad pickup that was supposed to generate hype and didn't really, because he was one of the worst junglers in Korea, was constantly at risk of being benched. And then at Worlds, he was kind of dragged by his solo laners to the Worlds Finals, where he missed multiple Barons and just had kind of an abysmal performance.
Okay, so you're basically saying, hey, even though he won, he was not actually good, and he's going to get exposed in the LCS.
Yes, and it's also partly because I think jungle is probably the strongest role in North America.
So you don't have to
Yeah.
rank them, but tell me who are the 5 that are going to be ahead of him.
I think Blaber will. Closer, definitely. I think Speak is going to have a return to form. Santorin has been solid for like the past 3 years. And then
You need one more.
one more.
You're going to have to change it to he won't be...
Contracts. Boom.
Oh, wait, no, Inspired. What am I talking about? He's the best jungler in North America right now.
Okay.
I will say, to be fair to the caller as well, he rattled off the first 4 better than most callers do when we do that question.
Yes.
You know, we always ask, like, well, then who's above them? And usually they're like, but he was on top of it mostly.
Yes. Okay. So, Piosik about to get exposed. Mark, let's start with you.
Okay, Rafa, go ahead.
No, Mark.
What?
Rafa went first the last couple times. I want to hear from you.
Yeah,
You gotta be more clear about who you're talking to. I got confused.
One of you has
feel-
another name. The other one is just Mark.
I feel like Kyoshik is going to be one of these guys. You know how there's just like some players who you just cannot talk about because they have the biggest haters or the biggest lovers and there's just no middle ground. I feel like Kyoshik's going to be that. There's the people who are convinced this dude was dragged to championship, world championship. There's people who think he's actually insane. I just feel like it's doomed to give a reasonable take, but I'm going to try. I think his pickup for the people who go current world champion, one of the best junglers in the world, are going to be surprised that that's not the case. I do agree with Basil a little bit here. I think he's not like a Kanavi. He's not like this guy who split in, split out, is challenging for best in his role in the championship or in his leagues and stuff. I do think he can be very good. I think he has metas that he's incredible in. Obviously, the meta was great for him this World. I thought his Hecarim play was very good. Despite what the caller said, I actually thought he had a pretty good World Finals in terms of like game impact. The Baron smites aside, which were some of them were kind of terrible.
The
Baron smites.
You're missing smites.
I understand that that's like eye grabbing, and you're like, holy shit, what an idiot. But like, I think the rest of his games in those were actually
Were there not
good.
dragon smites too that he was? I think he was missing.
Yeah, no, his smites were not good the entire series. It wasn't just the one Baron steal in game 5 too. I think there was like one in game 1 or 2, and then there was a couple dragon ones. Like,
yeah,
it's definitely problematic, but he also had a really good series beyond that, and I think he had a pretty good Worlds run, despite the fact that heading into Worlds he was really struggling. And I think he's just a streaky player. He is a slightly more carry-oriented jungler, and like there's metas that aren't great for him. He seems somewhat confidence-based and stuff like that. So I think people who look at this pickup as like, we got one of the best junglers in the world, it's like situationally sometimes, but probably not over the course of the year, dude. And for people who think he's just like, his corpse was carried across the finish line, he is legitimately good. Like there are times that he is legitimately very, very good.
So what about, do you think he can break top 5?
I think he can break top 5. I think there's going to be periods where Well, I also think junglers are heavily dependent on how their team's doing. Because, like, people talk about, oh, Pyosik looked bad in summer. It's like, you know who else didn't look that great? Like, the rest of his fucking team, guys. Like, junglers, I feel like live or die by their team sometimes. And the rest of DRX was not that fucking good. It wasn't like he was, again, some corpse getting dragged along.
Yeah, like I know a lot of people will point to the fact that Juhan had to sub in for a majority of the games that dragged DRX from what 7th, 6th place in the gauntlet that got them in as a 4th seed in the first place. But if you ever get a chance to like check out the DRX voice comms and the content they do, they go behind the scenes and they show like Pyosik talking with his coach. And that final game 5, it's all about momentum. It's all about confidence. And if I'm Pyosik in that series, which is why I'm not a fucking pro player, if I get Baron stolen from me like multiple times that series, I'm like, oh my god, just give me an easy jungler to pilot so I don't fuck this up, right? But he asked for Hecarim, and he's like, Coach, I think I can do this. I can carry with this pick. And yeah, they still lost the Baron to Gumayushi in that one moment, but his team was still there to emotionally support him. And so I think like Pyosik's success is all going to be dependent on how well the rest of Team Liquid have like a strong core identity of like who they're playing to. And that is where I find a lot of my concern about, is because I think Summit is going to be the guy that Team Liquid are going to want to play towards, but I don't know if Pyosik has ever really played towards the top side of the map as often as he has for bot lane in the past.
Yeah, I think the team has an interesting identity where like you can see a world where Core JJ loves roaming top, and him and Pyosik and Summit are all comboing together as like the 3 Korean players. Obviously, Jan and Harry can speak Korean, but just like they're the veterans. Maybe they'll have like a play style, and the other 2 guys will have to be like more control players. I don't know. I think that like a lot of Team Liquid strength and struggles will tie into Pyosik. Like it'll be like just a team that's kind of hard to diagnose what's going right or wrong, especially if like Summit is getting boomed with his champ pool and like getting hard targeted again or whatnot. Like I feel like people are going to give him a lot of attention and probably just pick up the blueprint from last year and try to attack Team Liquid the same way that C9 got destroyed by 100 Thieves in playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll find out. Hey, thank you so much, Basil, for the call. Anything that you want to shout out?
Shout out Grubhub. I actually ordered them and I'm eating my dinner right now that was delivered by them. It was a lovely Taco Bell box.
Fantastic. Enjoy the
Hi,
Taco Bell.
Cubby.
Yeah, be
Oh.
careful. Yeah.
One last thing.
Yes.
I would like to shout out the best idea that has ever been had on this podcast, which is Hotline Life, and you should bring it into the...
Well,
Oh my God,
we lost the
Travis.
caller. Unfortunately,
Unanimous
they got
support for Hotline Life, and you still
disconnected.
fucking... Travis realized that he has nothing valuable to tell anyone about life lessons, and so that's why he's scared to do this show.
We did a vote. People don't want Hotline Life. All right.
Yes, they do. People don't know what they want until they experience it. You can't trust
Spoken
fans.
like a true
Fans are idiots.
sports leader. Okay. Off mark goes to get the next caller. Rico Suave. Thank you for the sub. George Zulu, Real Divert. Thank you, everybody, for the subs. RAAFAA, how long have you been here for? When did you move?
2 Sundays ago.
2 Sundays ago. Okay, so it's been about 2 weeks. How you liking LA so far?
Trying to park anywhere fucking sucks.
Yeah.
That is probably the biggest reality check I've had to deal with. Coming from...
Do you have a
the
car or
suburbs.
do you have like a truck or something?
No, I have a car, but
Okay.
like it's just I tried to pull up to a Guitar Center just before because we were trying to get extra microphone cables for a project we're doing tomorrow, but like I didn't know where to park. And so I'm like trying to Google Maps like just public parking. And I'm just like, there's no public parking anywhere. And so I had to like park in some back alley where it had like a public parking pay meter. And so I just took the L and walked over to the Guitar Center.
Wait, so you just had to park it at a place where there's a meter?
Yeah, but like I didn't know where they were. Like usually where I live in Utah, like you have open parking lot spaces for everything that you want. You know,
Yeah, 'cause
I don't
it's
come from the city.
Utah. All
Wait.
right. Cody's
Wait,
here.
are you
Cody,
a Mormon?
Cody, What are you,
Hey,
Mark?
What? Just
Cody,
because like so much of the content that we read Brandon Sanderson, we watch his podcast. I feel like I'm always listening to Mormons, and then I'm like, oh wait a minute, Utah.
Yep.
Cody.
Yeah.
Let's
Cody.
let Rafa's personal spiritual beliefs not be a topic on this show.
What?
Cody, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Washington, D.C., but I did grow up in Utah for the first 22 years of my life.
Let's go!
Are you a
love
Mormon
Utah.
too?
Okay,
Are we
listen.
50% Mormon on the show right now?
let's Cody, what do you want to talk about on the show?
All right. My take is that LCS and LoL esports in general are whiffing on a softball for increasing viewership by doing less drops / giveaways this season. I'll run through the bullet points real quick. In your interview with John Needham, he said basically players are active league players are the ones who actually watch LCS. And I had heard that somewhere else, I think either on this show or Rift Reaction sometime last year. Traditional sports do this all the time with like bobbleheads and stuff, except when Riot does it, it's literally no cost because it's all digital stuff. They don't have to print out a bunch of bobbleheads. And I'm not on Reddit really, but my understanding is people were kind of upset after the pool party weekend in LCS last split because they didn't get as many drops as they had hoped for, or maybe as many cool drops as they had hoped for. And basically the whole point of this is like you have to get people in to tune in the first place before they can appreciate the content, before they can appreciate the games. I just started watching over the pandemic, and I would just basically keep it open for all day long. I live on the East Coast, so like I could wake up at 6 and turn on LCK and LPL, get some drops from there. And I didn't really care that much, but as I started watching more, I just became deeply invested in all these leagues, and I'm listening to podcasts for all these leagues and stuff, and like just getting me in the door with some stupid emotes or, summoner icons got me very interested in all these leagues. So I think they should bring it back, and it seems like they're waning it off this year.
Yeah, so a couple things here. I will use some of my sources information. Funny story, because of the way that Riot is structured, LCS has to spend budget against, and I think all the leagues have to spend budget against drops. So it's actually not free to the league from a budget perspective. They are essentially like buying those from another part of the company. So whether or not you think that makes sense, whether or not you should just Nico,
Gotta earn our skins money. God forbid.
I'm changing my take to the Riot structure sucks. This is stupid.
Yes. I mean, I think that's fair. I think like you would think that Nicolo could just be like, listen, we're just gonna fucking do some drops, stop it. But for whatever reason, that is the way that this works, from my understanding.
I mean, to be fair, they have to recoup their costs because I sneak over across the street and just steal shit from the main campus constantly.
That's true. That fucking
just loading up on Red Bulls. And
you guys should see. Mark has a really nice TV he took from one of the conference rooms. It's actually pretty.
I got Herman Miller chairs coming out. I just pick those off.
He's got a little side business.
I sell them down the road.
Wait. How serious are you on this, Mark? Because this is valuable for me.
Here's some tech that none of the 3,000 people listening can use. Your badge will not get you in across the street. You have to get signed in officially from someone who works on that side of the street technically to get you in, or I guess people from the building that we go into if they're employees versus contractors and stuff. But otherwise, yeah, your badge won't get you in. That said, I will say not every security guard is going to stop you. And if you have your badge and you got a little confidence,
we should not be. Mark, you're going to get more than anything else you said on this show. You're going to get yourself in trouble talking about this type of stuff. You need to be careful right now. I'm going to cut you off for your own purposes. I like having a host that also is part of the broadcast. Good news, guys. Dash is back. Listen.
Welcome to Dash to Hotline League.
So, Cody, talking about the drops. I have had mixed feelings on drops. I think that drops have at times been really annoying because so many people fucking show up, and when they don't get like the exact drop that they want, or they're not getting like good drops. Like it's a random chance. Like I almost feel like it would be better if they just had like a slot machine or like mechanic or something where like you understood in a better way. Like you are not guaranteed this. You're just going to see something, even maybe it's a code you redeem to figure out what it is that you got. Because you end up like I find it the pool party stuff, for instance, was very obnoxious to me, where I was like, this is cool, this is a nice bonus, and then a bunch of people, entitled gamers, because it's almost redundant to say, show up and they're like, I didn't get what I wanted, and I tuned in and watched the whole time, and I didn't get it. And it's like, this is supposed to be like a bonus, like a fun little added incentive, and instead people get uppity and shitty. And so at times I have thought that it is, I hate every fucking Reddit thread that's just like, I watched all day and I didn't get a drop, and then there's 500 other people that also didn't get the drop, so they all go in there and complain, and the people who do get the drops get downvoted or don't post, and so then they all go, see,
They're
no
all
one
playing the
got
game with
drops.
their new skin. Yeah, you don't.
It
you
is
don't hear
just
from them
so annoying.
I will say that I feel like I understand that it's a little frustrating to see those Reddit threads, and you kind of just have to deal with them. But I think that overall drops are worth it when you can get them. And
That's
I
why I
think,
said it's mixed
especially-
feelings, because I do think it's good promotion. It is like a great way to promote it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's a can of worms about like, are those people even really listening or whatnot? But I feel like it's worth it in theory. Like, I don't know what customer acquisition cost is for the LCS. I don't know if anyone does. But I have to imagine that in terms of getting people from client to broadcast, that's got to be one of the more efficient ways, other than like lame ass embeds in places that people aren't actually watching again. So like, I assume this is a pretty good lever to pull to try and get new eyeballs in. I think that's especially relevant when you've changed the time slot of your league or something, or a big promo event or whatever it is. Like I do think that this is a good thing, even with the slight backlash you get when inevitably someone doesn't get what they want.
Yeah. Rafa?
Yeah, and oh, sorry. Yeah,
Go
you,
ahead.
Rafa.
I mean, I completely sympathize. I wish we would have more in-game client integrations with the esports side of things. Just more awareness about like, you'll get this shit, if you tune into our esports games, or even just other things as well. Like, I have a long list of gripes about what's missing on the client that used to be on the client back when I used to play a lot when I first got into the game. Like, not having Challenger game spectate as an option anymore. That's like something I've missed dearly. But I mean, I don't want to derail the conversation. I agree with Cody.
Yep. Cody, you were going to say something.
Oh, I was just gonna say, with your point about like making it more clear, like before last season, January 10th, 2022, they put out a big thing, like a full news page on LoL esports that like kind of outlined the system. It wasn't perfect, but it was like, it gave a couple examples of like when stuff might drop, or and what has a higher chance and what doesn't. And I thought that was like a good way to push it. And obviously, it was it was mostly stupid emotes and stuff that no one probably cares about, but it got me to like, again, put it on second screen or whatever, and then slowly became very interested and like started liking all the casters and interested in all the players and stuff. So it's less about the drops and more about getting people to tune in the first place. And I thought they did a pretty good job about it last year, other than maybe the pool party thing, but just overall across the season. And this year it seems like they're not doing it.
Yeah.
I was just typing in Twitch chat. We absolutely should make a Ponzi scheme for LCS viewership, where if like you have to like enter in some form 10 Twitch accounts that you've convinced to like watch, and then they have to also say like, yeah, this is the guy who convinced us. And after you get 10 people to tune in for like 10 hours, then you get a skin. I think that's way better than drops. And we just Ponzi schemes. And then those 10 people can do it to 10 more people, and boom.
Lovely. Cody, thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out before we move on to the next caller?
Yeah, shout out to Grubhub and Alienware, the classics, the gadgets and gizmos. Shout out to my other East Coast boomers who may not always be awake to call in live for this stuff. And shout out to Travis for saving the LCS podcast by bullying Riot into changing the start time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for the call. Catch you later. I take no responsibility for the fate of the LCS broadcast, by the way.
Unless it succeeds, and then you'll take fucking all of it, I'm sure.
100%.
I just want to say, because people were memeing me about the security thing, I was joking about doing that. I don't actually do that. Don't do that. The security guards actually do stop me quite a bit, much to my annoyance. And I have to explain who I am. So yeah, that was a joke. Don't do that.
Mark, why'd you grab? Okay, off he goes. Let's see. Who do we got here? Rico Suave, thank you. Kethius and Toyota Thought. Thank you, everybody, for the subs. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm trying to, sometimes in the show, I'm trying to help Mark from himself. That's anybody who worries that he won't say what he thinks on the show. I'm on the background trying to pull him back. Okay, Gunch is here. Gunch, where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm calling from Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Nice.
Where in Massachusetts?
Oh God.
Oh, I'm from Central Mass. I'm from Groton.
Oh, okay, never mind.
What do you want to talk about on the show?
I wanted to talk about how I'm excited and optimistic about TSM this year, or this split, I'll say.
Boy, wait until you find out what they're gonna do in March. That's all I've got.
You're excited now. Just wait.
Just wait.
Tell all your
Maybe
friends.
I'll come back and tell you how I feel about it in March, right? Like,
Okay, can you elaborate on excited and optimistic? Like, what does optimism look like for a TSM fan these days?
Yeah, well, I think that this team just has a lot of potential, and I'm not saying like I think they're definitely gonna do super well, but you know, there's a lot of players on this team that people have been really excited about.
Okay, but again, you're kind of using
personal favorite. I'm very biased as Chime.
You're kind of using vague language, though. Sorry to cut you off. You said you're excited, and then you said it potential, and you said optimistic.
I think Travis would like to know, like, what do you think they can reach, and what are you expecting them to reach? Like, what are some like top 6, top 2? You know, like what do you think for this team's potential? What is it?
Playoffs for spring is top 6 again, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Or I mean, unless they change something.
No, I believe it's 6.
I was thinking. I mean, I think they can make playoffs. I honestly don't expect them to get higher than like 5th or 6th in the regular season. And Mark, I know I just watched your power rankings and you put them 9th.
No, not me.
Yeah, like I'm just a fan. I'm excited to watch them. And just most of this team is the team that like bounced back and put up a good showing in playoffs in summer last year. And I just want to keep that energy going into this year. Obviously, we lost Spica and Tactical as well, but Boogie is also very exciting. And I think that like Neo is like probably a side grade to Tactical. So I'm just people were really excited about Solo when he subbed in and started doing good too. I think that they could make playoffs, and you know, I guess we'll have to see once the season starts. But I just wanted to spread some positivity about TSM because
I don't
maybe
think
we can have a split where we're not the most hated team this time.
I don't think your take is that hot, which I don't mean as an insult. I just mean like I think it's not unreasonable to expect them to make playoffs because all you need is them to a little, like most people are putting them in the bottom 3, right? All you need for them to do is do a little bit better and for one of these top teams to like not do as hot, and then you get them to 6th.
The other thing that you have to have is that the other bottom 3 teams also don't overperform, because it's not just like a top team sucks, like, oh, Dig actually is just terrible in their mind, or like Cloud9 is just terrible, but also that Immortals and Golden Guardians and CLG aren't secretly like really good too.
Yeah. No, I mean, I know it's I'm just saying they're not so far out, and none of these other teams are like, I don't think anyone should be very convinced that their team is going to kill it this split. Like, right. I think that there's so many uncertainties with all these rosters, so many uncertainties, not only with like them individually, but also the league as a whole, that no one should feel super confident, right? Like, is Team Liquid going to look good with maybe Pioshik is going to get exposed, like the caller was saying earlier, and like their rookies aren't going to be great. Like maybe FlyQuest is like this random hodgepodge team, and they're not going to be able to get things together. Like you can make arguments for and against almost all the top teams, and even a little bit down near the bottom. And so I actually think there's a ton of variability in the league. I don't think that it's going to shake out the way that most people would like. Mark's power rankings, as much as I appreciate them, those are in my mind
100%
less
factual.
certain. They're far less certain than they normally would be because it's so hard to place them.
Rafa,
Yeah.
is this guy's TSM take hot to you? Is this like a hot take, thinking that they like to be this optimistic on them, like top half team?
I will say that I respect that he has faith in the players, and specifically the players. That being said, for me, I had TSM finishing bottom 2 for the spring split. So from a fan perspective, and I also heard you say you were biased towards Chime. Chime's my boy. So
Right. Yeah.
Here's my thing about the current build for TSM. I feel extremely bad for the players who have to deal with all the fan sentiment about how TSM used to be this great, successful org, and just through the years, it has gone into a crash course. Like, if you're on that team, I feel like all you're trying to do is I'm just trying to not look like absolute dog shit right now. And I sincerely hope that's what the players do. Like, individually, if they can find bright moments and like, man, you know what? This split was all right. This year was all right. But maybe I'll get picked up by a team, by an org that is putting out tons of content, trying to rebuild our player brands, and maybe we'll have a better shot next year. That is kind of where I'm at, unless TSM start, putting out more things that turn the whole face around, because it's not been great for the past year.
Yeah, for sure. The organization for sure is a mess. I'm mostly excited about the players, like I said.
RAAFAA, less optimistic about this team's potential than I am.
I think you're in the more optimistic camp, Travis. I think Gunch. I mean, I'm not flaming you. I'm just saying that, like, I think you do have a hot take compared to the majority of people in the community that would say, like, yeah, thinking that they will make top 5 or 6, make playoffs. I think most people are projecting them not to, which makes it a hot take.
I mean, I would project them not to. I'm just saying I don't think I think their chances are much better than other people.
You're just diminishing him. No, this is a hot take.
Chaos reigns, Mark. In the LCS
there's a very clear top 6 or 7 depending on how much you love CLG. That's it. Those other bottom 3 teams, 100% not making playoffs. I would bet.
What are you gonna bet?
Soccer 2.
A sock?
I'll give someone a sock. Yeah.
I don't want your sock.
Well, then bet something better, dude. I don't know. Fucking. This is such a good bet for you. You have 3 teams that can make it into the playoffs that I'm saying will not.
$1?
$1.
Listen, budget's looking tighter this year.
$1, and you sign it saying I'm a fucking idiot. And if I'm wrong, I sign it saying I'm a fucking idiot. And then you can frame it behind you that says that one of us is admitting we're fucking idiots.
Let's move on. Anyway, Gunch.
Oh, I think that's a great idea, Mark.
Thank you. Travis doesn't like any of my good ideas.
That's also not legal. You can't deface currency, Mark.
Yeah, dude, no one's ever done that. All those people are in the fucking slammer, whoever signed a $1 bill. You're right.
Man, Mark
You're right, dude.
Mark is on a tear tonight.
I'm unhinged.
He's losing it. All right, Gunch, thank you so much for the call. I appreciate the TSM optimism. Anything you want to shout out before we go on to the next caller?
Yeah, just shout out you guys. Shout out RAAFAA. I'm excited to see you on the LCS broadcast.
Thanks, bro. Thank you.
Off you go. All right.
Thanks.
Let's see.
I haven't checked in to see like what the community sentiment is around this roster, because like I was following it a fair amount in after the initial announcement, and some people were depressed. Some people were like, oh, it's fine. We have that big announcement coming in January. I haven't seen what's people's kind of feeling since the announcement got pushed back and stuff. So I don't know.
I think it's generally.
I mean, even optimism might be like a hot take for this team.
Yeah.
I don't know how people are feeling.
Yeah. I mean, I think the TSM fans are mostly pissed about the thing getting delayed till March.
Yeah.
Is everything okay back there? What was that?
Yeah, it sounded like someone just died. And
the the caster casa or whatever you're calling it is already struggling.
Wait, was that mine? Oh shit!
I think that was yours,
I thought that was Mark's.
Mark.
Mike. Oh god.
Oh yeah, no, Ashley's doing dishes.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
okay, okay. I thought you had left the channel by the time that noise came through. Okay, Araze is here. Araze, where are you calling from?
Hello, I'm calling from San Francisco.
San Francisco. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So I just want to talk about that Blaber and Cloud9, but specifically Blaber, is going to continue his reign as the king of spring for NALCS. Since, I guess, 2020, I mean, if you really want to stretch it, he was 100% win rate in 2019. He only had 2 games, but since 2020, he's pretty much dominated every single spring LCS. Of course, they did have the collapse on playoffs last year, and Summit also won MVP. But I feel like looking at the games, a lot of Summit's ability to kind of dominate was also predicated on Blaber's ability to kind of cover him. Because if you saw on the playoffs and during that collapse, it was kind of Blaber not playing towards his side that allowed him to take 1v2s that were not like good for, I guess, winning the game. It kind of put them more and more behind. And I feel like even in those playoffs, it might just be a Blaber fanboy, but even during the playoffs, he played pretty well, even though overall the team didn't play that well. But yeah.
So you think he'll continue to be the GOAT?
Yeah, pretty much.
When just to put some numbers on it, do you say King of Spring means that they're winning spring, or do you just mean like he's the best jungler in spring? Like what do you got?
So I think definitely he'll be the best jungler in spring, and best player overall in spring, which I think
so MVP award by the end of spring? Okay.
MVP of spring 2023.
I think my concern for you on the MVP thing is that it's rare that teams, like, you're kind of making 2 bets there, because it's very rare that a player gets MVP if his team is not performing great. And Mark was already talking earlier about how junglers are, like, their grade is heavily curved by the team performance. And so you really need, like, to bet that Cloud9 is going to, not just Blaber, but Cloud9 is going to do really well in spring.
Yeah, that's part of it. I think they are going to be top 1, top 2 in spring. And that's going to propel Blaber to just being in that conversation and being the winner of the MVP award.
Because... don't back down just because Travis said it was concerning. If you believe they're going to be top 1, say it with your chest.
He is. He's
a fucking go.
He is saying it, RAAFAA. He's saying that he thinks they're going to be top 2.
Yeah, but you were like, oh, it's concerning.
Top 1.
Top 1. They will win.
There we go.
Because he is the king of spring.
That's the hot take we want to hear. Let's go.
RAAFAA, who's your favorite junglers in the LCS, or who do you think's the best? What's your? Because it's a hot debate. Some people are Santorin stands, some are Closer stands, Inspired, Spica.
This is a cop out answer, but like I'm a fan of a ton of them. Like
he's a fan of whoever the best jungler is at the time.
I'm a fan of good League of Legends.
No, that's Flowers' answer. Is like I'm a fan of the best League of Legends team, and right now it's
his answer would be like, bro, it's just whoever's playing Skarner.
Go do the butt wiggle.
The butt twist. Do the butt twist. No, honestly, like for a long time from the list that we currently have, Contracts has been one of my favorite junglers to watch. When he first debuted on Cloud9 in 2017, I was actually playing a lot of solo queue back then, and so the way that Contracts would play the game, I would like try to model and fantasize about when I was playing League. So, and then Contract's story of like not finding success when he went to Golden Guardians and then was bouncing around Academy, and then the EG sub game against CSM in 2021, and they had the post game interview and he got emotional. I was just like, oh man, that got me super emotional. But the Blaber standing ovation reaction at Chicago Summer Finals also is like.
So you're just inherently based off of storylines. That's who you're going to pick in terms
Fuck yeah! Give me the storyline.
I think Mark was asking like who you think is the best.
Disgusting.
Hey man, I'm here for the emotional underdogs. That's my shtick.
I'm here for the least emotional. If you can make me feel dead inside, that's my vote.
God damn it.
I just think whoever the best jungler, the perception of the best jungler is just going to be based off of whichever team is doing best. And so
Travis, who do you
that's
think
why
the
I have
best
such a hard
jungler
time
is
with
then?
this. Well, you're based on my criteria. You're asking me who I think is going to be the best team.
No, I think I'm asking Travis Gafford, who's the best jungler in the LCS?
Ooh.
Who's going first on your All Pro ballot at the end of the year?
At the end of the year or at the end of the split?
End of the split. Excuse me. End of the split. Yeah.
I mean, again, I have to use my own criteria here, which is which team do I think is going to be the strongest, and probably FlyQuest.
So Spica is the best jungler in the LCS this split.
I mean, honestly, like that dude's going to have the weights falling off of him, and I won't give spoilers for a surprise test, but I did something around player kills last split, and like that guy got a lot of kills on a team where there were a lot of deaths, and I feel like given an opportunity, there's everybody was dogging on him last year, and I'm just like, I'm excited to see him whenever he's on a team. Obviously it depends on if FlyQuest can get it together and come together as a team and all that stuff, but like I'm excited to see what this guy looks like now that he's out of the sanitarium.
I'm a little worried that, like, at least initially, like how good the English is going to be for Vikla and Prince, if they're like the main two drivers on the team in terms of like how they want the game to go, and like if Spica's going to be able to communicate with them and make it clear how they want to play the game. I could see it being a little slow for him. To the caller's original point, my concern with Blaber, I think Blaber's amazing. I can't remember if I put him number 1, number 2 when we were doing the LCS 10 best junglers of all time, but I basically said he's on track to be the best jungler of all time in the LCS if he can kind of keep up the pace that he's had through his first couple of years here. I do think that this is the first time he doesn't have like a great mid laner potentially. I know that C9 usually does their scouting. I've since my power ranking video looked into a little bit more. I've heard mixed things.
I mean, he was starting with Fudge last year, though.
Yeah, but I mean, that didn't go great. I think they were okay.
Well, that's it. But you said this is the first time he won't have a great mid laner. But I feel like people were not. They were very skeptical on Fudge coming in as a mid laner this time last year.
Yeah, but I mean, like he kind of just. No offense to Fudge, but I think he played champs well that allowed him to like make it. Like he played a lot of Victor and stuff like that, if I remember correctly. So I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, like so for example, I was gonna say, well, like with Perks, I don't think Blaber had like insane synergy with Perks. I don't think that either of them like reached their peak with each other, but like they were still good enough to get it done. And so I don't think Blaber will look bad. I just don't know if it's like MVP level synergy because he wasn't the MVP in spring. I mean, some it was, but like that's a different conversation. So like I guess my point is, if Diplex turns out to be what I've heard and like the little bit of research I've done to be that, then I'm a little concerned for his MVP candidacy. Maybe it doesn't end up mattering, and he's like, all right, I'll just Ori ball a Kindred or zillion up a Hecarim or like some of that stuff where Blaber just goes
wins
crazy on
every
Udyr.
skirmish. Yeah.
Just
wins
so like
50-50.
Yeah, I don't think Blaber will be bottom half jungler, but MVP, unless I'm wrong. I think it's a little bit of a far cry because I don't think that they're going to be like one of the best mid jungle combos in the league.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for calling in. Anything you want to shout out?
Shout out Alienware. Shout out Grubhub. And shout out to my friend Real Snowfall for showing me this great podcast.
Oh, nice. Thank you, Real Snowfall. Your pyramid scheme money will be in the mail. Yeah, thanks so much, Raze. We'll catch you later.
Thank you.
All right, so we're actually going to take a break to talk about Grubhub. Speaking of Grubhub, shout out to Grubhub for sponsoring the show. They are fantastic. Continue to use them all the time. It's been fantastic to have them as a partner, and I really appreciate their support. Please, 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 if you've not signed up yet for Grubhub, please do so through my link. Which it's in the chat right now. Numi just put it there. It's also in the YouTube description. Them seeing the signups come through there is very helpful. Obviously, if you already have an account, don't make like a second account or anything like that. But I know there's a lot of people who just haven't bothered to give it a try yet. So maybe there's a chance that sometime you're like, you know what, I'm just going to give it a try. I'm going to order something tonight. going to order something for, I don't know, breakfast on a Saturday or whatever, go check them out. Thank you so much to Grubhub for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate your support of Hotline League, and we thrilled to be working with you for this past year. So thank you so much to Grubhub for sponsoring the show. Mark, you want to go grab the next caller? He looks like he's struggling.
Right away. Yes, chef.
It's been about 20 minutes since we've gotten a sub, which means it's time for me to say, anybody have a Prime sub? Anybody out there? I have a friend who got me to play this game called Nikkei. If anybody has pro tips on that mobile game, let me know. It's
Nikkei?
Ni-
What is it
Nikkei.
about?
It's this not an ad, but it's hard to describe. It's like a waifu gotcha collector thing.
What is?
This mobile game I started playing. I won't say who. A member of the LCS broadcast got me into playing this mobile game called Nikkei. It's like a gratuitous waifu gotcha game.
It's a booba game. Great, dude.
The interesting thing is that there's a Peruvian fusion cuisine with Japanese food called Nikkei. So that's why I was curious, like, oh, is this like, anything related? But yeah, unfortunately, it's not the same thing.
Bang is here. Bang, where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm calling from San Antonio, Texas.
San Antonio, Texas. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So my take was that Cloud9 will make top 2 in spring.
Oh, another Cloud9, pro Cloud9 call. Why do you think they're going to make top 2?
Yeah. So first and foremost, obviously, like they kept most of the roster together. Sure, they changed out Diplix, but I feel like the rest of the team is just they have that synergy made already, while the rest of the LCS is kind of still building it up. I know people are a little off on Sven still, but I think, or at least watching from like the first 2 days of LEC, I think the support champ meta is still pretty much the same thing with enchanters, so I think they'll be okay. And then Summit is Summit, Blaber, they're still really good. I think they'll be just fine.
You said Summit, you mean Fudge?
Oh, sorry, Fudge, right. It's my fault.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, this is I think the most compelling case I've heard so far for Cloud9, which is they made one roster swap in a year where everybody played musical chairs and changed a million things about all their different teams and all that stuff. So I'm down for that. That does make me feel good about them because I think that there's a lot to be said about roster stability. RAAFAA, what do you think?
I'm really.
What did you think of Diplix whenever he came through the North American Academy system?
He didn't. He didn't. He's from the.
Wait, that's weird. I
ER.
thought that we were going to be trying to get more North American talent.
What happened to Copy? I thought Copy was supposed to be really good.
Dude,
What happened
don't
to Copy?
get me started, man.
What happened to that guy?
Well, he's on CLG Challenger now, so we'll see if CLG wants to give Copy a shot on the LCS stage. If things if Palafox goes somewhere else, or if Palafox doesn't work out. But I don't know. I thought this was the year that if they didn't want to take on Jensen again, that this was the moment to take a chance on Copy, and they didn't. And personally, I feel really slighted by that. But you know what?
Like personally, you think Jack did this to you?
Oh, okay, no.
You're victimized by this?
Hey, I think it's fair to say that you feel slighted because this org didn't give this kid a chance who has earned it. I think it's fair to say you're slighted by that.
Yeah, that is the part that I am, ticked by. But if Cloud9's bet on Diplex, and the other thing too is that they didn't even keep Copy in the Challenger team. They got another person in Jimenez, also from the ERLs. So it's like, wow. Copy, not for LCS, but neither for Challenger.
Yeah, he's third string down behind these European players.
Yeah, so if they don't believe in Copy as an investment after, playing with him for 2 years, it is what it is. Sucks to hear as a fan, but what can you do? That being
RAAFAA,
said,
C9 going to be top 2?
I have C9 as 4th for spring split.
C9. So I won't spoil the Dive Power rankings, but they were the one that we had the most disagreements on.
Yeah.
I think C9 is a very hard team for people to pin down because there's so many teams to be really excited about. To the caller's point, C9 was the best team last year in summer. And so it's like, how much do you buy into the new hype versus worry about Diplex versus still believe in the core four that stayed? Like, I think they're a very interesting team. One pushback I give to C9's summer form from last year, and I don't know if other people feel this way, but like the LCS in summer kind of sucked. EG was hands down the best team by a country mile after they came back from MSI and for almost the entirety of summer split. And then they kind of boomed towards the end of it with like the Danny change. And obviously that had like a lot of repercussions probably for how that whole team like environment was. Team Liquid never really came together. 100 Thieves, I think they were good, don't get me wrong, but they kind of stayed their whole level throughout the year. And CLG surprised people in that environment. But like they weren't super title threats, you know, like they were good, not great. And that's kind of every good team in the LCS right there. That was it. Team Liquid never came together. 100 Thieves never stepped up. EG imploded and C9 won. And I think it was also a very specific meta that they won in where like Fiora became really good. Fudge was the only one who was able to play Fiora at all during that time period. It was hyper carry bot lane meta, and it still kind of is. And with the marksman changes, it'll still be a good meta for Sven and Berserker. And I don't think his like enchanter play or his tank play is terrible, but I do think that was like peak possible meta for that bot lane. I just think that there were a lot of things that went in, and prior to that, C9 was like pretty middling in the regular season. And of course they still had to like ramp up because they had a bunch of roster changes from spring to summer. But like, you know, I'm not bought in that like C9 was this disgusting team that conquered the LCS in summer, because I think that their competition all kind of died around them and they improved. They did improve. And I think that they will be a great team, but I'm curious to see how they look in a LCS that to everyone else's eyes has gotten much, much, much better.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think what will be very telling is you would expect them to start strong. And if they're not starting strong, then I worry a little bit about where this team's going to be at the end of the split. Because yes, they have to get used to Diplex, but everybody else has to get used to a lot more than Diplex.
Yeah.
So they should have an early advantage than you know, be in a tougher spot later on. And if they aren't in that early advantage situation, then they're in trouble.
Well,
I think. Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
Their starting schedule, Travis, is 100 Thieves Thursday, Golden Guardians Friday, and then CLG FlyQuest.
Yeah, that makes me even more convinced. They're playing against a team that has washed boomers on it. They're playing against a team that is literally CLG. They're playing against Golden Guardians, a team that a lot of people are putting 10th or 9th. And then they're playing against FlyQuest, a team which like we don't even know if those guys can communicate with each other yet. So if they can't go 4-0, they're fucking doomed, is what I'm getting at. Okay.
You know what that made me think of, what you just said about 100 Thieves? The way I'd say is that like all like 4 of their team are in diapers, 2 because they're geriatrics, another 2 because they're babies.
Yeah, they're just clothes are sitting there being like,
yeah, clothes just like the one adult human.
Yeah,
The rest
Closer is the legitimate nurse that is like trying to manage the infants, but also the retirement home at the same time.
Yeah. I agree that like they should start hot, and I think that they're just really hard to judge because like while they haven't changed, the entire environment around them has changed. But I think this is why the LCS is hyped this split, because like anything that can happen in the top 5, and I don't think anyone would be like, oh yeah, shocker. There's no way that I thought C9 could win a championship. I mean, there is. They easily could.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, I wanted to shout out NA Men. Those little videos that Delphi was putting out to hype up each roster was really cool. I've listened to the podcast a lot. I think Numi's doing great, and she said she'd do vlogs, and that we should call her out on it if we want to see it.
True.
So, better put up.
Yeah.
Angie, who is this that you're talking about?
Numi?
And then so the other people? You said Naman?
NA Men?
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar. with these.
Oh, really?
Travis
I
is
feel like-
threatened. He's insecure.
Yeah,
Have you
I'm about
ever
to
seen
say,
such
they're-
an insecure podcaster?
They're up and coming, Travis. They're coming. You need to acknowledge them, or they're gonna take over.
Make way, dinosaur.
All right. Thanks so much. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you very much. Bye.
All right. All right.
Off he goes.
Off. Mark goes to grab another caller. We got 2 more left, it looks like. Cubby, thank you for the sub. Don't watch the beginning of this episode. Araze, thank you as well. Notorious Bubble, the Dixie Cup, Raijo, Gyoker. Well, my request for subs worked. Big Angry Hobo gifted 5 subs. And
caller.
Renek as well. MaskedSwan is here. MaskedSwan, where are you calling from?
MaskedSwan!
Yo, my dude. So I'm calling from Berlin, but I'm normally in the UK in London.
Gotcha. Okay. And what time is it there?
In Berlin, it is 5:42 right now.
All right. Have you slept or did you wake up early?
Oh, mate, I didn't sleep. Mate, I'm up for Hotline League. You know how it is.
Okay. And you're going to be staying up this late to watch LCS, right? Well, not even this late. So you can do this, right?
Mate, you debated me, mate. I don't even have to now.
What's your okay, what's your take?
All right, so I've written it down because it's a bit of a long one to do this as succinctly as possible. So this take was inspired by the tweet that I saw from Captain Flowers based around the Champions Queue not firing for 3 days straight. And my main take is that Champions Queue not being used by pros early on isn't actually as big of an issue, and that there's actually much deeper systemic issues in regards to this. One being that the fact that it was only opened at the very start to the LCS, LLA, and Academy players. We still got to wait till the 28th of January for the Academy players to be let in, which is an issue in and of itself. The fact that it also wasn't expanded to high-elo players, I think, was a missing. I've only seen Team Liquid's APA tweeting and showing that they were actually gassed to play games, and they were really bummed out that none of the Champions Queue games were playing. And finally, to end us off, LEC pros are getting Champions Queued for EU today on the 24th of January, that I'm talking, obviously not for you lovely Americans over there. And there's zero incentive for them to play outside of the fact that they really want to just play high quality games of solo queue, but against one another. And I'm kind of worried about the grind set mentality of North America as a whole, not just the LCS players.
Wait, so why are you
First off-
saying it's not that
Whoa.
big of a deal? Because
Whoa,
you're
whoa, whoa.
mostly what?
First off, I just have to say that you sound like so many English video essayists I watch on YouTube. Like, you could be H Bomber guy. You could be like half. I know that this is just my untrained American ear, not picking up on differences, but like you really do have that cadence of I'm here to talk to you about why this movie sucks ass. And
Listen,
I mean, I'm not gonna
Masquan,
plug my
I think
YouTube,
you
so I
sound
go
like a
YouTube.
unique individual,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to suggest that you are.
I will. I'm saying you have what it takes. You've got you said you have a YouTube channel. Plug it at the end.
Mark, MaskedSwan is a caster.
Masquan,
in
what
Europe.
what are your thoughts on Phyrexia? All will be one.
Oh mate, your tweets around all of that Magic the Gathering stuff actually brings life back to a former competitive player who was so jaded. It actually reminds me a lot about why I liked Magic and everything. So
That's why I was asking.
I think Phyrexia All Will Be One will be really sick, honestly speaking. It looks really cool and the lore sounds great, so I'm hyped.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to come back. I'm going
All
to
right, what are we talking about here?
Oh,
Travis?
Mark, I thought you wanted us to go off topic. I was going to ask
You
a
went
question about
even
the
further.
Champions Queue thing, and then you were like, "Oh, video essays, blah blah blah," and then I
was
follow that line, and then
complimenting
you
him,
get
and you just-
upset, and you want me to bring it back on track. The hypocrisy in this room
I
is
was
disgusting.
complimenting his
All right, let's get it back to Champions Queue. You talked a lot about the LEC hating their Champions Queue, about the complications with the LCS stuff. You didn't really mention too much about like why it's not that big of a deal that LCS is not playing Champions Queue, even though I feel like that was part of your premise or your thesis statement.
So I'm kind of like, I think a lot of the blame online was thrown at the LCS players. Oh, it's their mentality, it's their grind set, they're just not there. And I'm like, well, it's not just open to the LCS players. There are LLA players that can play in this. They got very high elo in the previous Boogie, a player that used to play, that is now in the LCS, who I'm very fond of. He was number one over there. also all the academy players can play as well. And like I mentioned as well, Team Liquid's APA was really gassed to play Champions Queue. It's just none of the games fired. And it's like there are more people playing. It's just people aren't doing it at the moment. Also, the fact that they started Champions Queue before the amateur players could play, which they've already acknowledged is 1/3 of their player base. And it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I just don't. I think it is hard from the outside because you see that the EU pros are excited about Champions Queue, and then you see nobody playing in North America. And it's like, I think it is tough for a lot of people where this got announced, everyone's really excited about it, then they didn't use it, then they're like, okay, we're going to make it more limited in terms of when it's available, and we're going to make these changes. Then they still didn't play it. Then it was around during Worlds, and there were a ton of the LCS pros who did not take advantage of it. And my God, is it going to be exhausting to have to host this goddamn show when LEC pros are just slamming Champions Queue back to back to back in a couple weeks, and LCS Champions Queue is just dead again. So I think that's the pain that I feel a little bit. I hope that you're right, and when Academy players come in, like, everybody's going to start playing Champions Queue. It's going to feel really good. But I feel like there's this bizarre chicken and the egg problem. And the LCS players just aren't. It's very easy for them to say, well, the queue times are too long when you're not playing Champions Queue. So I don't know. That is my concern. But RAAFAA, I feel like this is definitely a area for you, since you care the most out of the three of us probably about the development in North America stuff.
No.
Mark C was on the Academy broadcast with us.
Yeah. He missed some. He was removed from being on the analyst desk every day last year, so he had to make some. He had to make some concessions. He had to stoop down a little further.
No.
than he was hoping to.
You didn't enjoy being with us, Marks? I thought we had a good time.
I had a great time.
Let's go.
Yeah, he likes hanging out with the little people. You know.
I didn't say that. Travis considers NACL casters little people.
That's the whole premise for this RAAFAA skit that I'm pitching.
All right. Before we derail this further, I agree with MaskedSwan that I'm also disappointed that we don't have Champs Q stuff. The defending for it is we're waiting on Academy players to be given permission, and I guess the Academy players wanted to grind solo queue a bit first before they got to like a rank
RAAFAA,
that they
can
found
I
suitable.
Can I give you a quick correction there? The academy players do. It's the amateur players that are going to do the qualifier league. They don't have access yet, if I understand everything correctly.
Amateur players waiting on the first qualifier.
Cool.
So yeah. So once the pool opens up even more, and when you look at like some of the biggest grinders, you already mentioned them. APA was semi-pro amateur for most of his career. This is the first time in his past 4 years that I've known him, since 2019, that he's finally being given a chance on a Challengers League roster. He's hit rank 1 before, just playing amateur when he was on Maryville University. So I know that there's a ton of other players like him who are incredibly motivated to play Champs Queue, and I'm wondering if that's the case just because they're waiting on those players who really drive the motivation up, and then once they filter in, then everyone else will start wanting to play Champions Queue. Right now, there's just not enough people that make Champions Queue seem worth it for people.
So here's the thing: NA pros are scumbags. They're lazy paycheck stealers. You know, all that stuff. Absolutely. But I think this time is kind of missing the mark for me about it. So Champions Queue in 2022 debuted in February. It did not come out in January. It did not come out close to when rank dropped. And the thing is, when rank drops is when you have like the highest portion of people playing. It's when you have the best queue times. You want to get high rank. You want to play the game. I think it was just a mistake this is more on Riot for me than the LCS pros. They put it out during a time period, like as a debut, when ranked is fine right now for the most part. Like, yeah, it has all the typical issues that ranked has. It's not perfect, but like most of the big problems like queue time and game quality and all that stuff is kind of like whatever, because you're all just ranking up anyways. And like, I think that there's a huge motivation to play regular solo queue over Champs Queue. I think you already hit the point about it's a smaller population than usual because the amateur players haven't been brought in yet or whatever. I I think, as well as the fact that, like, okay, so the money is gone. There's that whole motivation, but I think that pros are still adjusting to like the new schedule of double block scrims. Europe, as far as I'm aware, is still in that one game or one block of 5 games, which means that they'll have more free time to invest in something like Champions Queue than an LCS Pro will. And so even when both are up and running, you cannot directly compare the numbers. Because I already know this is what the community is going to do. Perks played 300 games of Champions Queue and Bjergsen played 150. What a fucking loser, you know, like, or whatever they end up doing. And like, that's just not a fair comparison if Bjergsen is also having an extra scrim block thrown on top. There's a bunch of reasons that this is going to get messy, and I'm already trying to nip it in the bud. This first launch was not a good idea by Riot, and that's, I think, why they pulled it down. I think they realized it. Hats off to them for realizing that, hey, this is just bad PR right now because the pros have better things to be doing with their time. And I think when it launches again in February, I hope it gets used. And if it doesn't get used at all, I am all for blasting the NA pros or whatever. You know, like, go for it.
Do you think it'll get used, Mark?
I'm pessimistic. I will openly admit.
Yeah, that's my problem. Like, because I'm right there with you on like, okay, maybe this is extenuating circumstances, et cetera, et cetera. The problem is, I feel like I'm not sure they are worth the passes right now, because I don't feel like they're going to then prove us wrong, later on.
I mean, they don't have much goodwill, so I understand why people are like hungry to tear them down. But I do have to go out there as the universal contrarian and be like, hey, there are a lot of circumstances this time compared to the launch of Champions Queue. Like, I just don't think this was a good time to launch it. I don't fault the pros for preferring solo queue as they have these longer days, and Champs Queue even doesn't even have its full player base unlocked. And the EU pros who are hungry for it, I think that, I mean, good for them. But if they're also just their scrim days are shorter, then like, yeah, of course they would prefer a more structured extra practice environment.
I just want one of these days Riot and the PA. Well, the PA won't do it because they're the players, but I just want Riot to come out and be like, you know what, fucking, we tried. Because I feel like every time Champions Queue comes up, they come out and they're like, hello, everyone. We had a lot of learnings. We've learned that we need to change the time and the availability. Oh, you know what? We had some more learnings. We need to do this. Pretty soon it's going to be like, we had some more learnings. We need to actively chain these players to their desk and not let them leave until they play the game. It was on us. It's like they take, like, the Champs Queue crew take so much about learnings, and at some point in time, it's just like, all right, but also, is anybody ever going to fucking use this like miracle thing you've created for them?
They're trying to bring dual queue to it. All right, they're adding priority for LCS pros in the queue system. Like, they're trying. Riot's trying, man. I think. While I was just saying that this initial launch period, I didn't love it. They're giving it a college try.
It feels very like if you give a mouse a crumb or whatever. Like, it's just like they're literally like, okay, what else do you guys want? You want duo queue? Okay, we'll bring in duo queue. Oh, you want priority? Okay, fine, we'll prioritize you. Okay, what else you want? You want somebody to come give you a massage while you're playing? Okay, we'll send somebody over. Like, it's just, what else? It's exhausting, quite frankly.
I recall there being also some Champions Queue take problems, like at the end of summer last year on Hotline League, like how there was already a player base dwindling. So like, are we just
during
not trying
Worlds,
to find more band-aids? Yeah. Oh no, Worlds was hype.
It was hype, but like the thing that disappointed me was how few LCS pros were actively using the system. Like, there were some, and those people deserve credit, but I'm like, okay, we've literally got like Faker and everybody in our Champs Queue right now, and you guys are on vacation. Like, come on.
I mean, all the semi-pro players were taking every opportunity and every advantage. They were hungry to play with international players coming in here to NA. So,
well, we got Diplix on Cloud9. So how did that work out for them?
Well, Travis, I am trying my best to fucking voice these guys and give them the respect that they deserve, even as orgs don't think they deserve any. So I will keep shouting it into the fucking void if I have to. So
yeah, you can join Emily.
I just think it's because North America doesn't have any talent. That's the problem.
All right, MaskedSwan, thank you so much. I'll have you know that I've ordered my first commander custom. I'm building a custom commander deck done with precons.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, well, who's your commander going to be?
Sheoldred, the new one.
Oh, okay, good pick. I'm
Yeah,
loving
I'm
it.
just worried she's gonna get like super targeted every time I try to play her.
Oh, obviously that's happened. That's Commander, but play friendly rules. It'll be fine.
I'm getting convinced to make a modern deck too, so we'll see. I'm trying to find something.
Yes,
that's not
join
gonna
My
the
cost me
dark
favorite
money.
side.
blue eyes, white dragon is my
You got to
commander.
solo summon it or something weird, right, Mark?
Yeah, I have to sacrifice 2 monsters, I think, to get it. 1800 under, whatever, 4 stars. Some
There you
I don't
go.
know, dude. Who actually played Yu-Gi-Oh that way?
I did.
Not me. No. You play it
RAAFAA,
by
you
show
would like
rules.
RAAFAA. You haven't met
top deck
Drew.
and slam.
RAAFAA, you haven't met Drew, right? My video guy.
I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, he's like a big Yu-Gi-Oh player and has like Yu-Gi-Oh shirts and stuff like that. He's now
Oh.
playing Magic with us, but he played a ton of Yu-Gi-Oh in the past. He's a
Let's
big Yu-Gi-Oh
go.
guy. Yeah.
Let's go. Okay.
All right, MaskedSwan, thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out?
Obviously, shout out to Alienware. Shout out to Grubhub. Shout out to my YouTube channel. As Mark said, I could plug it. So that's at MaskedSwan on YouTube. I'm on that on everything except for Twitter because I got my actual name of Alex Swan. So that's a cool thing. Shout out to Mark for the Blame game. I'm loving that content. And also your random videos on your own YouTube. I really liked your Witcher one from like a year back. So
Is
like,
this the second
Oh,
Hotline
shit.
League in a row where Mark's getting a shout out for his dead YouTube channel?
yeah, I know, right? It's like, tell him to make, this is what I'm trying to do. Make more content, Mark. Content. Shout
I'll
out to
write
RAAFAA.
scripts and you record them in your great video essay accent, and we'll collab. There we go.
Let's network. Yeah, hell yeah. Let's do it. Shout out to RAAFAA and all of the NACL casters. Huge props to everybody there. I love so many of the people there. And Joshi, my LJL brother, in a weird way. And Travis, as I've already mentioned, shout out to you for showing love to Magic and showing me that I can get over my detest for the company, but there is still a lot of good
Just
there.
play draft and then commander with friends. Like I am fascinated by how WotC is. They're like, it's so interesting to compare them to Riot. I wish more League of Legends fans knew how WotC was, but just if you just play draft and commander, it's like none of that stuff really matters. Anyway,
I'll try it out.
yeah, I'll catch you later.
Take care.
Yeah,
Bye, Alex.
off he goes. Let's see. Well, it's been about 21 minutes since we've got a sub, so this is my my
last shout.
ask for a prime sub moment.
I
Mark
might
is
have a
back
card to give you.
with Gengariffith. Gengariffith, where are you calling from?
Lexington, Kentucky.
Lexington, Kentucky. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Nice.
So I want to say EG did a lot to win me as a fan last year, but nothing to keep me. So their lack of content for players in this offseason is a huge problem.
All right, you want to elaborate a little bit?
Okay, so I was a Cloud9 fan for like most of my career, and then like I swear last year, like the way that they hyped up their players, and like they had been doing it for a while, right? Like Peter Dunn would go on everywhere that would put a mic in front of him to hype up Jizuke and other players, and then going into this year, I got really excited for this roster and the way that they were hyping up their players, and it seemed like they really cared about their players, and so I was like, this is gonna be my new favorite team. But going into this offseason, when Impact's leaving, they barely had a farewell for him. Meanwhile, I see Someday getting like a Hall of Fame. Impact barely got a single picture on their Twitter. The incoming roster is a JPEG. Maya from NA Men did more. It's jarring seeing even Dig put out more content than my favorite team. Dig, the team that I was hoping would sell. And if I hadn't watched Hotline League, I wouldn't know why EGP doesn't exist. I only know because I watch Hotline League. I have no expectations for this coming season because no one's putting anything out. I look at their Twitter, I just don't see a whole lot. It's very frustrating going from this org that I thought was like, they love our players to nothing about the players. And that's why I loved EG last year and why I was like, this is my new favorite team. And now I'm just kind of feeling jaded about it.
What happened?
I don't know. Did I get cut off?
It's tough because we talked about this. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have pulled the call. It's just it's
sorry.
a little depressing because I mean across the board there were many teams I was very excited about for a long time in the league in terms of companies and brands coming into the space. I was excited about 100 Thieves. They've started to pick up their content a little bit with the new roster, but they were not doing much before last year. They laid off a ton of their content team. EG similarly, like, we did all these conversations about the world's teams not doing content. And then even existing, I feel like Team Liquid is like one of the only teams left that's like really churning out a lot of stuff. That's like, doesn't feel like it's just because of a sponsor requirement. So
Okay, well, to be fair, I do want to shout out FlyQuest. I feel like
Yes,
they
I was gonna
put
say,
out
I thought
a lot of
FlyQuest was good.
content. FlyQuest has put out a lot of content.
yeah,
Mhm.
they deserve that. That's a fair call.
Mhm.
They did before. I think they're changing their content a lot. I feel like they're moving away from the like eco-friendly stuff. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. But
Yeah, it's a different look than when Trisha was the kind of the face of FlyQuest. A lot more wholesome content. Not saying that FlyQuest will never be wholesome again with the new direction, but they are definitely churning out a lot more player-focused content, which I'm really excited to see just from what I've heard around the grapevine.
yeah, I mean, they did a lot of player-focused content before too, right? Like with all the quizzes and stuff like that.
Yeah, but we're gonna even get like that elevated to
Okay.
a degree. So, and I think the key difference maker too is how FlyQuest are gonna be approaching how they push everything on socials instead of just like, okay, we throw it up on YouTube and then Twitter and then that's it. Like whoever runs the FlyQuest socials team across the board, like they are diversifying their content and making it not just player focused, but also just like league bangers that you'll see on TikTok or
Yeah, but
Instagram.
they've done the TikTok stuff for a long time, right? I feel like
Mhm.
it's a couple years now even that they've been doing that.
Yeah, but it's been a progression, right? And now
Yeah.
that they've like ramped up the following, that's when you already have a huge following stand base, and then when you start putting out the new player focused content on Spica, Vikla, Prince, Ayla, Impact, it's gonna have a huge payoff.
I'm actually, you know what, and while we're giving props, I am interested in seeing what Golden Guardians does. They've always quietly released never like an overwhelming amount, but like a decent amount of content. They released some stuff from their Korea trip recently, and
Very
I do
good stuff.
think I've heard rumors that they're going to move into trying to kind of differentiate. I have advocate the name N people who I forgot about them earlier. I just remember them now, but they have somewhat turned me to this idea of like there needs to be more content that is. I hate this community. Sorry, I'm going to use this phrase. You guys are all going.
This community, the phrase slip, the truth comes out.
No, I do hate this community sometimes.
Community.
But one of the things that I hate about it is the fact that when I say people should do K-pop style content, like I'm going to right now, everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, K-pop, wow!" So there's just gonna be a bunch of toxic people on Twitter, and like we even had this during one of our Worlds Hotline leagues, and I'm that's not what I mean. I think that K-pop style content is really good at showcasing the personalities of the K-pop folks, performers. And I think that Golden Guardians is going to try to move in that direction this year, which I think is really good because I think so many brands have been and orgs in the space have been trying to do the same style. And it's like at least pick a lane, And I think that they're going to try to do that with this stuff.
Yeah, you can call it idol content, you can call it fandom content, because it's all about putting the player first and forward and just showing them as more than just a dude that shows up every Thursday and Friday to play League of Legends professionally in front of other people online and in stage. And I think that is the approach you want to do, and we should have been doing for players, I don't know, for how many years.
I fully agree. I think there's a couple lanes you can pick. There's like classic influencer kind of ones. I think actually FlyQuest was doing that quite well, even though they didn't have huge brand names. I think they used Takoi, Jose, and Afro about as good as you possibly could have, given the state of the current like LCS last summer. They actually got decent viewership. Like I think they did that kind of YouTube-y stuff well. I think you could even have like a Team Liquid type team who has a strong figurehead who's not a player like Steve go kind of like, this is a weird comparison, but like the Brandon Sanderson, like I am the figurehead, this is my vision, over communicate, weekly updates, weekly vlogs from him. While obviously he's very busy, like this is why I think the Brandon Sanderson model works, is like when you have someone at the top who can make time to just like keep fans so in the loop, you get like a really diehard fan base. And I feel like they have, like Steve isn't, I could be wrong, but like
of all the teams in the league, Steve might be the most entrenched at this point with his org. Like, I think that's a route they could take. I do think Pioshik is really funny, and I could see, like, I've heard very good things about that team's atmosphere, so I don't want to say, like, ignore the players, but, I think there's different routes to this point that, like, each team can find their lane, and I actually think that would be a really good way of, like, you're a team that really cares about professionalism and, like, open communication and stuff. Like, great, Steve and TL are your team and stuff.
I didn't even think about the Brandon Sanderson thing. I think that would be kind of interesting if you were just like, hello, I'm running this company. Here's how things have been going, and here's some struggles that we've had. So, like, you're almost making it kind of you're really truly bringing people behind the scenes there on that type of stuff.
Esports cool. Just pull the curtain back and be open. Like, hey, this year, like, investors pulled out, like X amount of money, or, like, I don't know how open you can be, but I think that kind of stuff does endear people to you as a person and as a team. Like, this guy cares. He's going to tell us things. Yeah.
No, I think that is actually a pretty good point. All right. Thank you, Gengariffith, for the call. Anything you want to share? I know we went way off topic on EG. It's hard to.
No, it's okay. Can I say one thing before shoutouts or
yeah?
No? Okay, so some people in chat are saying, like, well, the team will get distracted by socials. It doesn't even have to be player-focused content. Doesn't even have to include the players, right? Like Peter Dunn going on everything and talking about and hyping up his players got me so excited for the players. It doesn't have to distract the players from their play. Like,
T1 did so much fucking content, guys, and they're T1. Like, it just
true.
It's so annoying to me whenever people try to use that fucking excuse on, like, oh, they got to focus on the game.
If you go watch any playoffs from the past two splits, T1 do so much in the ramp up during that time as well, and they take the time to do, like, variety shows with the broadcast as well. Like,
LPL talent gets used like crazy, from what I understand too.
Mm-hmm.
I think even to the point that it doesn't have to be the players themselves. I think exactly what the NA men do, where, like, they make, like, the little fan montages and stuff. Like, you don't need to interview JoJo directly or whoever directly to, like, grab a bunch of things that appeared on the broadcast or in other vlogs and staple them together into, like, a cutesy edit or, like, a hype edit or whatever you want to do with it. I think that's how a lot of I think a lot of people's initial content, when they don't have access to the players themselves, end up making content that looks like this, and it usually does pretty well. So, like, I think there's a lot of routes.
Yeah, I mean, I think people, especially at the professional level and orgs, get so timid about, if we're not putting out content that looks professional, it looks high grade, then we're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
And I think something that a good friend of mine, also fellow NACL broadcaster Kangas, has repeated to me many a times when we were trying to, like, put content ideas together and I almost shot down some of my stuff. He would always tell me, don't let perfection be the enemy of good. Like, if you've got something that's good, it's got heart, it doesn't matter how fucking scuffed it is. People will appreciate that you even put it out. And if you think back to, like, what made LCS content great in the first place, or any of the team, like, vlogs from the Gamer House era days, it was all scuffed content. But that's why it was so good, because, like, it was genuine. So that's all it takes.
A great example. Like, I heard this, I could be wrong, but whoever is the lowest LP on Team Liquid has to make coffee for the other people, or, like, order their coffees or something.
I think it's at one point in time I think if you were late, or the last person to the train practice day or something like that.
No, but I heard this was recent with the all-Korean lineup.
Oh, okay.
Or the all-Korean speaking lineup, excuse me. Just, like, that's great content. Like, people, like, that made me be like, yo, these guys are, like, having fun together and, like, doing things. And, like, I think that kind of stuff, if you can capture it to
when I was at Asset
put
Week,
out, like, a Twitter video or whatever. Yeah.
I told you about this, Mark, I think, but when I was at Asset Week, one of my favorite moments was who was it? It was on maybe it was on Team Liquid. There's a player who was, like, learning additional Korean, and the other players were teaching him. And it was Jan, I think. And it was super cute, because this was happening just behind the scenes during in between, like, as they're rotating to the different stations to create content or whatever with everybody else. I was like, secretly the best content is the content that none of us are capturing, which is all these people teaching him how to pronounce stuff. Like, it was super cute, and I really like that. So that was a fair point. All right. Anyway, Gengariffith, thank you so much. Anything you want to shout out?
Yeah. I want to shout out my wife for letting me be up past midnight. I don't think she's complaining. She's watching K-dramas right now. Shout out the NACL because it's been hype. Moose Hater is Bog. Shout out Freak for continuing to do his patch rundowns and being transparent, even while being on Riot. It's really cool. And shout out... Sorry, it's my last one. Shout out Kikiruki for letting me int him in ARAM so I can hop back in sub calls because I didn't realize my call was going to be taken and I had given up hope. Apologize for going and dying a lot. My bad.
Gengariffith, you know if she watching Mad for Each Other?
I don't know the current one she's watching on her own. We watch together Falling Under Your Smile right now. But I don't know what she's currently on.
All right, Mad for Each Other's so fucking funny. If you need one, it's on Netflix. I think it just came out. I could be wrong. I don't know when it came out. Actually, and I just watched it. It's so good.
I'm down.
I also really liked Wednesday. That was pretty good. If you're looking for more things to watch,
has she ever read any Cosmere?
Yeah,
she
actually,
like
we listened. Thanks to you all, we listened to the Cosmere on Audible. So we read our own, but then we listen to the Way of Kings together on Audible when we have to ride together. So that's been really cool.
You listen, Tress. If you haven't read Tress yet, it is really good. I think he said in his update this week that it's like one of his best reviewed books ever. Anyway, thanks so much for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye, thanks.
RAAFAA,
What's up?
you're from Utah. Have you read Brandon Sanderson stuff?
I have not.
What the fuck?
Don't read it. Just nothing will make me happier than you continually irritating Travis by not reading Brandon Sanderson.
Do you ever read?
Bro,
are you literate?
No, I shout at video games for a living, Mark. I'm not literate.
Tragic.
I used to read a lot in high school and early college, and then I got into this game called League of Legends, and that took up most of my free time.
Okay, right now, the Kindle version of Way of Kings is only $2 on Amazon.
Bro, he just said he doesn't read much, and you're signing him up for a 400,000 word book.
Okay, now let him cook, Mark. Like, let Travis do his shill. Like, because I have been meaning to check out more books because I have a couple that two friends have given me, and I have them on the back burner. But I've been wanting to have some.
Yeah, those books fucking suck. Okay, what you want to do is you want to read books by this author named Brandon Sanderson. He's from your state. Well, he's not originally from your state. He lives in your state.
Wait, was he the guy that you visited for?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I did the interview. There's an interview on my channel with him.
Yeah.
Travis is only being allowed back at their estate as if he shills it to like 50 people personally. It's that pyramid scheme again. You know, if you shill it to 100 people, you can get invited to Brandon's estate.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually getting a ton of pings from other colleagues saying I need to read Brandon.
Wait, which colleagues?
More NACL casters. Beatdown Boulevard is pinging me right now. Listen to him right now. So
okay, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't been reading for a while, I would start with Mistborn. You could even start with his most recent book, Tress and the Emerald Sea. It's a standalone. But if you are just looking, I know you just moved to LA, very expensive, $2. All right, $2, and you get a book that will last you for super long. All right, that's the show, everybody. Mark, you want to give shout outs? What do you want to plug? What's going on?
Shout out the Korean drama I totally forgot I was watching. It's actually really funny. It's really cute. Character work is incredible in it. It's called Mad for Each Other. I also want to shout out RAAFAA for coming on. He's going to kill it this weekend, I bet.
Thanks, man.
If I'm wrong, you guys can let me know. Let me know. Let me know, not him. No one get in his DMs.
Don't tell me.
Yeah. But yeah, this was a fun episode.
Yeah, it was. RAAFAA, thank you for coming on. I'm really excited to have you be a part of the LCS. You might not know this, but I actually predate the LCS. So in some ways, it's on me to welcome you in.
Thank you.
And so, yes, you were probably, I don't know how old you are, but I'm going to assume you were like 12 or something whenever I started. Anyway, welcome to the LCS.
Thank you.
What do you want to shout out and plug? Where can people find you? What are you doing?
Okay. Well, you can literally find me anywhere at RAAFAAcast. Like I'm on pretty much every social media platform.
And that's with 2 A's. It's like AA, right?
Yep, AA cast. Two more things I want to shout out. One, obviously NACL weekends, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then finally tomorrow, my roommate Cubby is starting a new podcast with me and Josh.
All right.
And we're filming here live, Raising NA on his channel. So
How many
boom.
fucking podcasts does this scene need?
God forbid anyone make any other kind of content, Travis. Meanwhile, I'm going to make another podcast.
There
You're
you
gonna make
go.
another podcast, Mark? What's going on?
Yeah, I feel like I need another podcast.
All right. Well, Rift Reaction is gone, so I guess you can have that slot. All right, that's it for me. Stick around. We're gonna try and get a surprise test out this week, which is really fun. We recorded 6 of them last week. We're gonna be
Holy
releasing those
moly.
over the next month and a half. I'm gonna air one right now. I'm gonna air the rough cut right now on the stream for people who want to check it out. But other than that, thank you, RAAFAA, for coming on. Thank you, Mark, as always. Maybe we'll go on a walk in the next 2 days. LCS in 3 days. Also,
Yes, sir.
I need to figure out how I'm going to release my content. Like, am I just dropping interviews on Saturday and Sunday? That feels really weird, but might be the way we do this. I don't know. Feels strange. This new schedule is going to take some getting used to for all of us.
It's scary.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. This has been Hotline League. See you next week.
See ya.